Welcome, 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 welcome. It is 24th of June and it is the Quebec Fete Nationale. It is the Saint Jean-Baptiste Day, so special event for my fellow Quebecers, a Quebecer, Canadian, North American who was born in the USA 3 times, post 7076, once as a woman, twice as a man. We're going to my second home, the mountain. 24th of June, 5th or 4th, going on the 5th day of the heat wave. It feels like 44, although the breeze started, so I guess it's gonna drop every hour. A breeze drop by that goes. So here we are. Gonna begin with grateful, thankful. My rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee. Well, coffee for the next 3 days, and I was a bit moody yesterday. Of course, I stopped and I didn't work out. I was resting on the go, and that's what we got here on the left and on the right. And for the particulars and for the privates and for all those involved in the protection, distribution of food, we're gonna get on that go, and that's what we're gonna get doing here on the go, and on the left and on the right, and in the middle. Gonna discard some of that garbage, and that's what we're gonna get doing with that, and we're gonna get on that rock and roll. And here we're gonna get doing for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, and the doctors, the firefighters, all those involved in the production, distribution of food, all those now. We're gonna now wait for the bus here, but here we're just gonna discard a little bit of that rock and roll, and that's what we're gonna get doing for the left, for the right, and for the middle, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food here for the left and for the right and in the middle, and all those, of course, who are now on the sunset, on the sunrise. And here we're gonna go. We're gonna get drilling, and that's what we're gonna get doing, man. We're gonna get on the road. Special Quebec Day. We're gonna celebrate Quebec. That's what we're gonna get doing, and that's what we're gonna get doing on the go. And we're gonna get prudent because it's a heat wave, but heat waves doesn't stop yours truly. And yeah, I feel good now that I brace the heat. You know, I don't mind the heat, but it's always something which you gotta be prudent and of course stay hydrated as we're gonna go, of course, and we're gonna get on that LUV. We're gonna get on the Quebec, special Quebec edition, unedited raw, 24th of June. It is Fete Nationale, and as a Quebecer Canadian, one of the 63. That's how we're gonna get doing on that, and that's how we're gonna get rock and rolling. One of the 63 of the Empire, the Kingdom. Look at those beautiful flowers. The Kingdom, the Empire, the North American Collective Civilizational Complex for the Asia. We're gonna go drilling on the go, and we're gonna get drilling on the left YZ, and that's how we're gonna get drilling. And we're gonna go passing by my second home, the Mount Royal, where we're gonna go sing some of that rock and roll in French, because it's Quebecer, Canadian, North American. We're gonna sing some of that good French Quebec songs, and always grateful, thankful. We're gonna celebrate Quebec today as an Aspie artist, athlete, philosopher. Always gonna be on the mindfulness of everything that we have as a collective North American civilization. Gonna give a shout out to the workers of the past, the Hydro-Quebec workers of the past, as we go to the mountain, and we're gonna zig and zag it, and that's what we're gonna get doing with the drills. And we're always gonna be meditating on everything that's happening now. Fete Nationale, we have a Quebec culture here surrounded around the language, the French language, and the French language. That's what we love, and I was born here in Quebec in a past life, previous life, this life right here, Montreal, Quebecer. This is my home, Montreal, and all who come to join us, you know. It's always good if you make an effort for the French language, and that's all we got. And that's why we gotta get drilling on that rock and roll, man. So we're gonna go give a little bit of that hydration and cross the street brutally here, you know. Because sometimes they don't press the accelerator, they press the accelerator instead of the brake, or the brake malfunctions. So it's always something which you gotta be intermediate about, and gotta drink some of that water here. Usually you live about 10 seconds, 20 seconds for the pipes to clear, because sometimes you get rust. So sometimes rust gets in and you might drink the rust. So usually count to 10, about 10, 20 seconds to clear the pipes. And that's how we're gonna get drilling, you know, to clear the pipes on that. And that's how we're gonna get doing. Oh yeah, even the water's hot. Even the water's hot, 44 degrees. I don't mind the heat, to be honest, but I don't mind the heat, and that's how we go. That's what we gotta get doing on that. And that's how we gotta get drilling on the deal, man. So something which we need to be doing here in the park. I see there's a lot of people to get it done, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, man. And my fellow old school old timer there, I think is the fellow citizens, you know, what we got, and that's how we gotta get drilling with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, man. Salute the elderly, the senior citizens who build the collective, you know. I always imagine as a philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, honest, and theorist, how all this Quebec was built, and the 63, because it's 24/7, is as a Quebecer, North American, always for the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories as I am, for amalgamating and fusing them into a complex, and that complex, the kingdom, the empire, is of course gonna have to be saluting and continuing the French language of the Quebec here flag. We got that fleur de lis. I got it tatted up as I got Canada tatted up. Canada tatted, always the flags are on me, I guess. And the stars, well, in the past life I was born in the USA. 3 times post 7076. 3 times post 7076. And once as a woman, twice as a man. And I'm going to be checking that community fridge now as we're going to zigzag. Raw reel to my second home, my mistress, and you know, my mistress, my doctor, second home mountain, and maybe there's a storm on the way and everything's closed. It's the Fete Nationale, it's a holiday, statutory holiday today, so gotta take that into respect and into account. And oh, we got some donations here. I'm not gonna take, I guess, somebody who might want to do some soups, and always my hands are washed, so makes me think of Asperger's, because I got Asperger's. He says, you know, for my face, I guess. Asperger's, and I do have Asperger's, which I'm going to discuss now that I'm on the topic. And see, it looks like Asperger's, although it's missing some letters with that, and it's missing some of those letters, but I will take this. Let me check this. Cheese rolls. I'm going to take one for me, one for my anonymous friend. This is best until November. And going to take some of that chicken, I guess, uncooked season, and we're going to cook it tomorrow. Estimated time June 14th, so it's got to be eaten, I guess, gluten free. And I guess tomorrow morning we're gonna stack it up and we're gonna eat it. Gonna get that essence with that, and that's how we're gonna get drilling with that. And we're gonna get on that left and on the right, and gonna backpack it. And that's what we're gonna be doing, man, on the backpack. And I guess it's gonna be, it has to be, oh, somebody took half. There were 8, but now there's only 4 left chicken, and they're really frozen, and it says cheese rolls, and some cheese rolls from Brazil, keep frozen or just heat and serve. So there's gonna be some good with that, and that's how we gotta get rock and rolling, man. So hey, we got some food. It's gonna be ready to cook for tomorrow. So I'm grateful, thankful here that I got this donation, just perfect, you know. Gonna disinfect them a bit with Canadian disinfectant. So you got hand sanitizer made in Canada. Please, please, please. Please, please, please keep the protocols. Gonna disinfect them. Keep the protocols of the COVID protocols is what I'm referring to. Super important, you know, to keep the protocols of COVID. So I just disinfected them with a little bit of that good disinfectant, hand sanitizer, and they're gonna be ready to cook for tomorrow, and gonna share with my anonymous friends. So always gotta be grateful, thankful for that, as I'm gonna go to the mountain and back, and I guess gonna put them back in the fridge, not in the freezer, for tomorrow. They're gonna be cooked afternoon or whatever, tomorrow evening. So I got those red gloves in the backpack, and that's what we're gonna get drilling with that, and that's what we're gonna get drilling with the left and with the right, and gonna go zigzag. So how we're gonna zigzag all the way to the mountain, I guess, gonna go in a zigzag, point towards the king, my son, the Pope, because it feels like 44 degrees. So now that I am on the Asperger's, just want to say, you know, as I go for this special Fete Nationale, 163, 163 of the provinces, states, territories for the new province, and state territorial, of course. Accumulation is. We got to fuse Canada and the United States in my vision best as a pro-liberal of universal revolutionary centrist and Aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, and geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist who yesterday rested. Even today I was better yesterday. I was moody, but I took that bath and said, oh, although I can't afford a massage therapy session, anybody wants to finance that I get a little bit of that massage and friends with benefits only, please. I don't want to waste nobody's time. I don't want to waste nobody's time. I don't want to waste nobody's time. Play Geo legions and friends with benefits only. Broke, financially stressed, but I got trillions of marching steps, lots of rock and roll, lots of loving, and for black, white, black, and men and women, you want a LOV. You want a LOV with yours truly, then you LOV, so that's what it is with that. And I am pansexual, androgynous, you get that 50-50, and I also have Asperger's, and of course gonna discuss it a little bit, because I gotta sing that Quebec for Quebec, and we're gonna begin it in English, and then we're gonna switch it for that French, because we're label Privee, special edition, Rock&Roll, Fete Nationale, 24th of June special edition. And you know how we tango here in Quebec, we're just speaking loving our French language. That is something which can be pretty intense about, and pretty concentrated about. Sometimes we can be, we made what I call the great linguistic compromise of the great North American collective language, of which is here in Quebec, to have the continuity of the French language, the continuity of the French language, and that's what it is with that, and that's what it is with that, with the go, and that's what it is for the left, for the right. And here we are in the Quebec as we go, of course, to the mountain, and we're gonna get it on the left and on the right. And for those lovers, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, all those truckers now on the road. And I took a bath today. Yesterday I was feeling a bit on the moody side. I wished I could afford a massage therapy session, but I couldn't afford it. But I still can't afford, but anybody who wants to do a little bit of volunteering, we can exchange trade, because I guess massage therapy session starts at half an hour for an hour, So yeah, I've been craving it for years and years and years. And last week I did a really, really intense, every day from Monday to Tuesday was the longest marching week. Yes, last week, ending the spring. I ended it with record-breaking marches, accumulated marches, more than 6 hours, more than 5 hours, more than 7 hours, more than 6 hours, more than 7 hours. So I think I averaged about 30 marching non-stop hours to the mountain or to the river and back. So I'm proud of finishing strong the week, because this is my special interest, focus on fitness and geopolitics, and of course rock and roll. So that if you don't know, you will know in this dialogue that I have a condition called Asperger's, being I'm an Aspie, and thus I am neurodivergent. So my neurodivergence makes me, of course, different than other normative neurotypicals. And of course, due to this neurodivergence, social interactions can be weird, awkward. It is more difficult for Asperger's to interact socially. So sometimes we have weird mannerism, weird characteristics, and I do not use myself the word symptoms, because Asperger's is not a mental illness, and it's not an illness, and it's not a disorder in the proper sense of the terminology. Yes, in certain aspects I am less able, less capable, more disorderly, if you will, more, of course, less able, less capable, and more disabled, if you will, in certain characteristics, certain social circumstances, certain situations, but not when it comes to my special interest. That's where I am in my kingdom, in my domain. So if you enter the world of geopolitics, stands for the word, of course, geos, a location, and a politics with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on that, So stands from the word geopolitics. I'm just gonna go across the street prudently there, gonna go on the side, and I think there's best, although I could go at the light, but I don't know if there's that many people here on the side, but whatever the case may be. So geos comes from the word geo, or geography, relating to a location, and politics. So geopolitics is defined in several ways. There's not a uniform definition, but it's basically the study of politics within the interrelated geopolitical context of a geographical region. So from the Greek word geos and politikos, the geos and politikos, geos and politikos, geos and politikos. So from a geopolitical perspective, that's my special interest. And of course, I gotta say again, as I say and I repeat every time, that I actually predicted what's happening now. And I have proof of what I'm saying. This dictum, if you will, this statement of mine is that, of course, I have predicted, turn your heads left and right when you cross the street several times, because you never know. Sometimes, of course, the citizen might press the accelerator instead of the brake, or it might be possible that the brakes do not function properly. I guess it's a much needed windy. It started to be windy. I feel the temperature dropping, but it was these 2 days, yesterday and today. Yesterday also it felt like 44. I never heard from, of course, my recent memory, because you have to keep in mind that my memory is good, and of the past 7 years, 8, 9, then it kind of becomes blurred and kind of foggy after 10. After 11 is like blackout, because my memory kind of got inaccessibility access denied before 11 years. So if I go back 10, 11 years, and this July 1st is probably going to be 9 or 10 years since I moved from a very moldy underground prison type of cell. Look at these beautiful gardens here. I always admire the beautiful gardens. And I had experienced myself doing a little bit of that gardening a few times in Montreal. So back to what I said, that I used to live still in Montreal, on the island, Hawk Island, Montreal, big metropolis city of 2.5 million people. I moved either 2015 or 2016. So if I go to 2014, before spring, there's like a blackout. It's like I've problems accessing my memory of earlier, my life prior to me living in that small underground basement, like a prison type of cell, like a type of small prison cell, was full of mold, black mold. And I moved from there. And sometimes what causes memory loss is trauma. And I was attacked by surprise a few years ago, but when I lived there, and hit my head on the concrete in the Montreal on the metro. Had a dislocated right arm, right shoulder, and was cracked back at the Jewish General Hospital by doctors. I was put on some medication, So I was put on some medication, and I was like kind of in a coma for a few days, kind of like in a coma type of period state for a few days. And I have trouble accessing my memory, my life prior to that event. So I know I have high school diploma, blah, 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 and et cetera, but I know maybe the trauma, the attack, several attacks, and I have plenty of scars on my body, or I got a lot of scars on my body. This androgynous Aspie has lived trauma, survived COVID 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago, survived being depressed, suicidal, because that's a big problem in my Aspie community, and we're different. Aspies, we're just different. We are different. Our brain has these mutations, and so we relate sometimes in a weird, awkward manner that some people, citizens, if they don't know what it is, they might mistake it for a mental illness, which is absolutely not a mental illness. It is just a neurological mental condition. So certain traits, characteristics, I'm just gonna go on the other side. So basically what it is, Asperger's is, you need some help, madam?
No, it's okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, she can do it, no problem. You're welcome. You're welcome. I asked her if she wanted to get some help with because I don't know if she can need some help there. I can help anywhere I can, because she was holding out, and the little child, I assessed that maybe an extra hand would be of help, although Asperger's makes me clumsy a bit, but sometimes I offer, because I assessed, and I noticed her hands were full, and the way it was holding the big, I'm not sure what it was black, just like my memory blackouts, but I think it was a big console of some sort of electronics. I could detect electronics, and it was a big square, and I see how my mind works. Because of Asperger's, I kind of calculated the force necessary, the perimeter, I estimated the weight, and how the surface area by the mathematical calculation of the areas, and some mathematical equations popped in my mind, and I decided kind of by some logic that maybe I should offer some help to place the item in the back of the back of the car. Anyways, so Asperger's is not a mental illness, it is a neurological mental divergent condition. As I go on this march for Quebec, one of the 63 special, je me souviens, I remember, but I don't remember that much for me personally, and I remember mostly my suffering, strugglings, also good times. And 2 weeks ago I made $30 an hour, which is kind of good for me, $150, you know, so that's always something to be grateful. And my anonymous friend, if I make a million of being a trillion, just triggered a nice song, inspired me some nice lyrics in that rock and roll. But I am broke, I am financially stressed, and as peace we encounter these two major problems. The two main problems in the equation for Asperger's, well, actually three. The three ones is that we don't have lots of friends, you know, and sometimes we say things which are direct, you know. We can be sometimes, as much as we can be on the side, of course, we can be on the XYZ, and that's where you gotta be. Sometimes we're just direct in certain things, so we can be direct in certain manners, and of course, certain ways of we express ourselves can be sometimes direct, although I cultivate and I am polite and try to be well. But also I learned a lot about myself as an Aspies, being different as in category with the other Aspies of the world, that we are of course different. And some people might use certain things of vulnerabilities, because Aspies, we have certain vulnerabilities against us. Shout out to a great book I read, Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome is a book which was published in 2009. So that book kind of outlines generally the whole, what I relate most, what was more helpful for my condition and myself as an individual, as be part of this tiny small community of people who live with Asperger's, which we are. Not a lot of people have Asperger's. It's less than 1%, less than 0.5%, 0.44%. 0.44% have 0.44%. Imagine, that's not a lot compared to my fellow LGBTQ community, of which I'm part of both. I'm both an Aspie and part of I'm androgynous 50-50, you get with me? Pansexual. The LGBT community stands around between 5 and 7% of those born after 1980. Between 1980 and 2010. Between 1980 and 2010. Between 1980 and 2010. Right? So, or 2007, well, I guess 2010, but there's surveys of teens who are 15. That's why I classified it in such a mathematical manner, but it could be 2007. So there's more LGBTQ, way more. That's a percentage. So 0.44% is less than 1%, it's less than 0.5%. So there's not a lot of people with it. And again, it's not a mental illness, it is just neurologically, we're different and we see the world in a different way. And so we interact sometimes in a different way, and we have the three main problems are unemployment. The unemployment rate, this should be unacceptable in any of our North American collective, whether in Quebec, in Canada, or in the United States. I'm speaking again, of course, for all the world, but I know North America pretty much fundamentally, although I learn and I study and I learn about international affairs 24/7, things of the world, but I am fundamentally a North American, and my experiences are, as a Quebecer, Canadian, North American, fundamentally and in essence, right? As much as I know about the ideologies and philosophies of the 20th century USSR, and the Cold War, and fascist Italy, and philosophies, ideologies, and nation states of the 20th century, of present 21st century, of this summer 2025 and spring 2025. Fundamentally, I'm a North American, so that is something which has to be comprehended, but more than comprehended, understood from my specific interrelation. And I'm just gonna cross the street on the other side. because I want to see a little bit about these houses here, because remember in past videos they were still building them, and of course I called the construction workers, and I need the construction workers for some 444, which I will to build the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, to be on the Canadian-US border. Gotta love me some yellow flowers, and I wish I could afford to give my anonymous friend a little bit of that, you know. Anyways, I wonder how much it costs, and that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So it's something which we have to be doing on the level of things, and which you have to be understanding in the sun shining and sunsets, and that's how we gotta get doing on the left and on the right, and on the circumference of the matter, that I am different, and I will always have Asperger's, because Asperger's is not a mental illness, and there's no medication, you know. You cannot medicate Asperger's. An Aspie, like myself, can manage, again, the characteristics, not the symptoms, which can be weird, awkward, and generally offsetting, off-putting, and misconfused and misunderstood as being a mental illness, which again, Asperger's is not a mental illness. It's just that there's these mutations at the micro level, of course. It's not visible on the exterior side of the parts of the brain or the cranium, but internally there's these tiny microscopic, of course, at the microscopic level here, like the microchip level. I wouldn't know if I'm a cyborg. How would I know? I wouldn't really know if I am one, right? Maybe I am a cyborg and I wouldn't know really. It would have to be something resembling the Turing test, but I doubt it, because I lived through the worst, being suicidal and depressed. It's not a cyborg state of affairs, right? Because I'll have to be a logical machine type of computable, programmable, beautiful yellow flowers, and I don't know if I would be loving yellow flowers, but I do, especially those right there, and those other ones, but yellow flowers. But cyborgs could be potentially human born and then transformed in the period of I don't know exactly, in the first 11 years, I would guess, but you know, I guess it would be possible in theoretically, right? We're going into science fiction now, but maybe I'm a made in Deutschland. Cyborg. Look at those beautiful flowers there. Look at those beautiful flowers. So maybe that's what it is. I'm just gonna step out of the way for the children. No, you go. Oh yeah, putting the helmet on is always best, especially if you're on the pedestrian seat. Bye. So that's how we gotta get doing, and so we gotta get going with that. So I stopped. So I assessed that it's best for me to pause. That's why you see the camera pause. Cause see, in my mind, there's the distance and velocity popped in my mind. You know, the distance between the citizen on the bike, the speed, and I assessed a bit. How can I explain it? So basically, I saw the distance and the speed and the velocity, and that's why I stopped. I said, for their safety on the bikes, it's me to calculate. So basically, calculating the velocity and the speed of a moving object is a mathematical calculation that just pops in my brain, you know. It's not something which I can relate it in words, but nonetheless, to describe it possibly in a predictable manner is basically a logic computation occurred in my mind. And I do have emotions, I do have feelings. I was depressed, suicidal, and Aspies we do is just that we show them by concrete actions, you know, concrete actions. That's how we show them, by concrete actions. So this is fundamentally what it is with us Aspies. We're different, and things such as the aforementioned can seem a bit weird. You know, the fact that in my mind is different, and now not only was an emotional response for their safety, my citizens, for me to stop because I have the backpack, but also for them to cross, because before that they were her children, her nieces or whatever, who crossed, the youth, and that's why I stopped initially. Then, of course, there was a bush, so I assessed the risk, security risk, is my liberty is precious. Another sovereign citizen's liberty is also precious, and another sovereign liberty is precious, and mine is, and another is also, so that liberty, my individual liberty, with the collective security, and my work, and me going on this march now is something which I love doing, and just part of my fitness journey, going to the mountain. And my anonymous friend laughed because I said, I'm going to the mountain, and she said, I already know where you're going, don't have to tell me. So I guess already knew where I was going. Anyways, so that's Asperger's for you a little bit if you trying to comprehend. And of course, I'm an individual Asp who has Asperger's, but wow, look at that. Wow, blue jay. Wow, I think first blue jay of in a while. They're rare. Look at that. I saw blue jay. Blue jay, blue jay, blue jay. Hey, look at that. It's a blue jay. Wow. Blue jay. Blue jay, so beautiful, you JJ. I'm gonna sing some of that rock and roll for you, cause I love you. I love that red. Hey, blue jay. Oop, he dropped the poop. Oop, he dropped the poop. The blue jay dropped the poop. I don't know. That's a blue jay. Look at that. Wow, that's a beautiful blue jay. Spread the wings, and here we got a little bit of nature. Although when he's like far off, I can see a bit blurred, and I was prescribed some glasses, but I'm financially stressed, and I'm gonna have to forego that for the time being, and that's how we got here, and I'm now wearing the steel toe boots, military grade boots today. I thought I was gonna wear some blue, auctioning them for $1 million, my underwear for $1 million, my boots at home, everything that I'm wearing, the underwear, the hat for $1 million each item, to give 50% half to my anonymous friend. And I said I'm gonna change today, because yesterday I was resting, because last week I finished the spring last week of the spring with record-breaking marches accumulated from Monday to Friday. Accumulated marches from Monday to Friday last week until the 20th. So 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. Well, 16th, 17th, 18th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and the 20th. Those 5 days I accumulated about 30 plus marching hours, so that was fun, and it also cost a little bit. That yesterday I had to rest, and even today I delayed. I stretched, and I did some work online, and of course geopolitics, because it's tough geopolitical times now, and again, that's my special interest, and go bus drivers LUV. Again, I gotta restate and not just reclaim, but utter the fact that today and yesterday and today, I gotta make the statements I do in the past videos. I predicted what's happening now in a general manner back in 2019. Basically, I predicted the current geopolitical crises, the world geopolitical crisis, the international conflict, which I'm not sure that's a Catalonia tree right there. Catalonia tree. And now what's happening with the ceasefire? It's in question, and the Iran-Israel war commenced on the 13th of June. And of course, there's now a ceasefire, beautiful yellow flowers. Has the ceasefire really been put into establishment? Has the ceasefire really been concorded? Beautiful flowers. Or has the ceasefire really not, of course, been implemented, really been not implemented, not really been implemented? That's what it is for the go. So that's what we got, and that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we gotta get doing, to get it on the go with that, and to get it for the left and for the right. So being an ASPI is this neurodivergence, and this neurodivergence cannot be explained in just a few sentences, Cannot be explained in just a few sentences. Cannot be. Anyways, that's what it is with that. Come on.
Get the daday mong baboy.
We'll see. Anyways, I just wanted to see what they were singing a little bit, you know. I just wanted to be singing what they were singing a little bit. I thought it was some passionate, and I thought it was gonna be some good, but I couldn't decipher it, you know. There's too much noise, so I guess I'm gonna sing my own tune, you know. I guess I'm gonna sing my own tune with that, and singing my own tune is something which we're gonna have to get doing on the drill, and we're gonna get doing, man. So now where we're gonna go, where we're gonna go, that's what it is. And huh? Anyways, that's what we're gonna get drilling here, man. This is what I want to drink some water here, get a little bit of that hydrated, and that's what we're gonna get doing on that go. And we're gonna get doing on the go to get doing on the. Oh, somebody's getting gathered there, and that's what we're gonna get gathering for there. Hey, somebody gotta sing the boys and girls in blue. Ain't nobody perfect. That includes that me and you. That includes that me and you. And that's how we're gonna get drilling with that, and gonna get drilling for the go, you know. So it's something which we got. Oh yeah, feels so good. Gonna get that, of course. That's what we gotta get doing, and we gotta be, of course, on the mindfulness. Somebody's making joyous there, and of course I sing for my brothers and sisters, boys and girls in blue in the uniforms. I call for the Dragon Army in my new 911 protocols. New 911 protocols to be implemented. New 911 protocols. 911 protocols to be implemented, and that's where we gotta get drilling with that, you know. We love our police, we love our Oh yeah, that is the king, the sun. I was almost gonna lose it, you know. Ah, man. So as I sang the rock and roll for the boys and girls in blue, I was gonna sing for the brothers and sisters who do their criminal rehabilitation, you know. The criminal rehabilitation. Proud of you. Across the 63, and we need you to start building those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. As I have been and we'll continue to call for the building thereof. See, now my mind works in geopolitics, and I see that plane, I gotta consecute it and salute the armed forces. We're gonna get the United Imperial Armed Forces for SSD, for the SSD Legion, and get building more for defense only. That's the beautiful sky across the 63 where we have this one here, province of Quebec, celebrating today. See how my brain now works? I'm looking south. I see the trucks. I know that the truckers are going east, west, north, south. I also know that they might be carrying good groceries, some bread, some bacon, some cheese, some eggs, all the essential nutrients. And my brain now makes, of course, a geopolitical revision, and I always go back to 2019 when I predicted what's happening now, you know. So salutation to the truckers across the 63 from Quebec, La Belle Province, going with that bread, that cheese, you know, to get the supply chains in the fast food. And prices have increased, and we have the cost of living crisis, which has affected me, of course, more than the majority of the population, because I've been financially stressed. And the problem with Aspies, we encountered three main problems. One is the high unemployment rate, and listen to this, in North America, it's around 80%. So that is 11 times higher than the neurotypical unemployment rate. So that is totally unacceptable. And yes, I had many employments, many jobs, which I love, but I do what I do best what I do best is geopolitics, you know, the geopolitics. I'm an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist, and of course, what I do best is geopolitical study, geopolitical analysis, and of course, my brain always switches. See, I saw that truck and potentially carrying some oil or some gas as well, parallel to some food items, but I'm thinking specifically food because, of course, regardless of other things, if oil runs out, we still have electric. And here in Quebec, I gotta applaud and salute the Hydro-Quebec workers in the 20th century who built all the dams, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, and that's all we gotta get doing with that, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing with that, and we gotta get doing on the drill, we gotta get doing on the go, and that's all we gotta get doing on the drill side of things. And we gotta also celebrate and turn our heads left or right, and that's all we gotta get doing with the left, you know, and the right and in the middle. And that's all we gotta get doing for the firefighters there, and they're part of the North American Collective, and somebody make them some good loving, you know, some good loving with that. And it's always firefighters, butchers, bakers, and nurses, and doctors, and truckers, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food, as we're gonna go towards uniting North America, Canada, US, the North and the South, basically, in the Empire, in the Democratic Republic of Kingdom of the North American Collective. Today we're celebrating Quebec, and then we're gonna celebrate each and other states, 50 states and the 10 provinces. The original 13, we're gonna add 13 Canadian. The King is absent, my brothers and sisters. It's time for the Republic. King is absent, brothers and sisters. It's time for the Republic. The King is absent, brothers and sisters. It's time for the Republic. And that's what we're gonna check here. Gonna get it on the go here. Gonna see what's happening here. Out of the bus. That means bus stop. So you gotta learn some French, you know, as we go. And you gotta also meditate on all the things that are going now. And we're gonna make sure that we cross the street brutally. Yeah, now we can cross. So that's the danger, see? Now we can cross, but now here we can't cross because we can't see it, you know? We can't see it on the go, and that's what we gotta get doing on that, see? There we go. Il faut qu'il coupe ça ici au bout, hein? Parce qu'on voit pas. We gotta cut that because we don't see. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because you can't see, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure when you can pass there, you know. Whatever. You got a right to the city. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Well, that's what it is now. Yeah. Fine gentleman or woman, I'm not sure, but I think we spoke a few years ago. We're speaking about at the corner during the winter, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and I think we're speaking about some politics. But he doesn't speak French, that's okay. Sometimes, I don't know, if you speak French, you speak French. If you want to speak English, you want to speak English. It's not a problem for me, you know. Consequently, any of the two can be consequently adjusted and put into the situational context of whence we are to be represented. But here we made a great linguistic compromise, which is a beauty, right? The great linguistic compromise of the North American collective was none other than and for the French language. And this we got to continue to do. You know, it's this great linguistic, North American linguistic compromise which we continue to do and continue to get it on the drill, and we gotta get doing on that. Look at that, beautiful. So here you see how it goes up, up, and there it goes down. So here we're ascending the mountain, you know. We're ascending the mountain, you know. Ascending the mountain. Mountain, three-peaked mountain complex. Mountain, Mount Royal, mountain. There's Mount Royal. It's the whole three-peak mountain called Mount Royal. Now we're on Westmount, the peak called Westmount. And the other peak is of course called Outramount. And the other peak is of course Mount Royal. So you got Outramount, Mount Royal proper, and you got Westmount. Now we're on Westmount, the mountain you're gonna see. So back to the problems that Aspies encounter the most. The Trinity, I say. As parallel to my holy trinity of special interest, it's 24/7 geopolitical studies, geopolitical analysis, and theorizing. And I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. 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 And that's what it is. Geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Beautiful flowers. Beautiful flowers, flowers, flowers. Geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist. Or analytical theoretician. However I want to phrase it. I'm not going to go into a Cone 44-point program to what is a geopolitical, what is the difference between a geopolitical theoretical analyst and theorist or a geopolitical analytical theorist, because fundamentally in essence it is the same, but some people might phrase it differently and vice versa. So basically, that's my holy trinity. Sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport. Beautiful garden and rock and roll. So in those three, I'm involved with intensity, super focus, and super concentration on a daily basis. And I gotta give a shout out again because I was also depressed and suicidal, and that is a problem among Aspies. Depression and suicidal rates are 9 times higher than the neurotypicals, and your neurotypicals constitute 99.56% of the population versus, but it's not a versus because we have to build bridges. We have to build bridges, build bridges, build bridges, and in certain things, and especially me in geopolitics, regardless of whether you like, love, or go crazy about my freestyle rock and roll or not, or XYZ, or dancing, because Dragon Zero, you know, the dancing goddess, Dragon Army, the North American Imperial dancing is also the dancing goddess, priestess of the goddess, Adriana, dragon priestess, not a hoe. Gotta get on that consequential and gotta get it on the go with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the left and right, and we gotta get on that beautiful house there. I always say, what a beautiful house to get doing on the go, and a beautiful house there. Look at that. I just love that house. I wish I could split 50-50 with my anonymous friend. I think I'm going to propose again. I got rejected 2 times, but it's going to be a special type of marriage, I guess. Nobody's going to want to marry me anyways, you know. But nonetheless. I never went to a marriage. See how it goes down? And yeah, I got a crane fetish of the crane, and beautiful encounters along the way. So that is the problem with Aspies. Most of the problems revolve around the point that sometimes, due to our special interests, which are super intense, super focused, we tend to neglect other things. We tend to neglect other things. So that neglect can be something around the house, can be certain things depending from Aspie to Aspie, but again, it's not versus, and it's not an antagonistic relationship between Aspies and you, the 99% of the neurotypical, but you have to build bridges, because it's unacceptable for Aspies to have 80% unemployment rate. The not having lots of friends, well, that I establish it as a parameter of understanding of consequential interest, that it's friends with benefits only from now on. It's friends with benefits only from now on. Friends with benefits only. Friends with benefits only. It's friends with benefits only from now on. Friends with benefits only from now on. So we pledge your legions, and that's how we gotta get drilling on the go, and so we got drilling on the left and on the right, and sometimes in the middle, you know. So that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta get doing. See, beautiful. Oh, go. Could I encourage my fellow little monkeys, monkey army, the dragon army. Go. Hey, that's a good exercise. And when I see them going uphill, it's an uphill battle. I've been on so many uphill battles. I was depressed, suicidal. I survived being attacked by surprise. What got me out of being depressed and suicidal was crossing Canada. Coast to coast. Having crossed Canada, coast to coast, ocean to ocean in 2017 in summer, that made me come out of being depressed and being suicidal. Being depressed and being suicidal, and that's what it is. So I was depressed and being suicidal, and Aspies is 9 times a higher depression and suicidal rate. Hey, look at those white flowers there, so bushy. Anyways, that's what it is with that. That's what we gotta get doing with that, and so I gotta get consequential. And here we gotta also be mindful that when we cross the streets, you know, that's what we gotta get doing with love, man. Gotta get doing all the way to the mountain. I always admire little stickers. Some people put some stickers which are about the 9/11 conspiracy theories. I'm not a big believer in conspiracy theories myself. I do have questions about plane 77, which crashed into the Pentagon. But my memory, from what I know from journals, I was finishing high school. I was in high school when that happened, but I don't have personal memory of the event. I just rewatched in the past 11 years the documentaries, and it's a major 21st century event which shaped and still shapes. That event still shapes the 21st century. Right? That event still shapes. The Twin Towers attack, plane 93, and 11, right? Because plane 175 crashed, right? In Pennsylvania. Crashed in Pennsylvania, right? And plane 77 went into the Pentagon, right? Yeah, there were 4 planes. Plane 93, plane 11, plane 77, and plane 175. And that's what it is with that, and that's why I gotta get consequential. This house I could split, of course, 50-50 with that, and that's what we gotta get doing. Oh yeah, plane 50. This I can split. Wow. Quite cool how it is, the architecture. I can split that 50-50. So Aspies, we face 3 major problems. But I'm no longer depressed and suicidal, although I lived it for like 3.5 years. I was from the time that I moved, I guess, until 2017, you know. 2017 until 2017 when I cross Canada coast to coast, 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 you know. That event in 2017 in August, crossing Canada, of course, made me establish a strong esprit de corps. A strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, a strong esprit de corps. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, yeah. Wow. You gotta smell these beautiful, beautiful, whoop, little tiny white roses. It's just excellent beauty, just creamy, creamy, creamy. Makes me want to give them some kisses, some licks, some sweet, but I can't, you know, I'm not gonna damage. It's not. They're overlapping from the private into the public, right? So they're overlapping into the private, into the public from the private sphere. So it's a overlap there. Part of them are in the in the public, like this is in the public, but part of those were in the private. But I'm just, of course, it's an aspy type of joke, but I love it. I right away love. Well job, good job. They're the private citizen who planted those white, tiny. They really look, you know, like those little pieces of creamy, fudgy type of white chocolate that you put on cakes, four-story cakes. I have a sweet tooth. I sweet tooth, and I love that sweet tooth with that. And here I gotta see. There we are. You know, there we are. Yeah, so basically the Asperger condition requires understanding and building bridges, because I was depressed, I was suicidal for a few years, from 2014, 2017, and in August, you know, August, of course, in August, you know, in August 2017, that's when I got out of depression. I went, of course, in BC, Vancouver, and that event made me come out of being depressed, especially when I reached Banff. That event made me solidify, and by crossing Canada coast to coast in 2017, summer 2017, made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, consider family, Quebecers, Canadians, North Americans, and of course, my brothers and sisters in the USA, because I was born 3 times. If you don't believe in reincarnation, just read that George Patton. He is the general. George Patton, who wrote one of my favorite poems, Through a Glass Darkly. Through a glass darkly. A glass darkly, through a glass darkly. GLASSADAR, darkly, through a glass darkly. That's what it is, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on that love things, and that's how we got, you know, we gotta get on the reading of that beautiful poem there, you know, to get it on the love side. And I really gotta hydrate again. I'm really on that hydration, and here you can come, and gonna wait a few seconds. Usually I wait about 20 seconds. See, that's from where it is, from the mountain, and I count to 10, and 20, 20s, 15, 10, 5, and now hydrate HYDIT. Oh yeah. See, sometimes we're over there. Sometimes we're like, that's miles away, eh? That's not close. That's miles and miles and miles away there. Anyway, so here we're on Westmouth, and that's what we're gonna get doing for the Quebec. And again, now Aspie gonna finalize on Aspiness, Asperger's. Not a mental illness, it is a neurological mental divergent condition, and makes me and other Aspies predisposed to these special type of weird and awkward bodily movements, of repetition of words, echolalia, and being overly obsessed about our special interests or topics. And if you start discussing with geopolitics, you gotta let me know that the conversation ends. Because if we begin a conversation on geopolitics, you have to be aware that we can go and I specialize in 20th century geopolitics and 21st on a daily basis. And again, I state, because I got proof of work, I predicted what's happening now. Back in 2019, I have proof of work. I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. I have proof of work. I predicted what's happening now back in 2019 in October, November, and consequently I created a workout training program system to go hand in hand with such a scenario, whence that eventuality, a World War III eventuality, which some say it began. If the ceasefire doesn't hold, and Iran-Israel war continues, and the United States gets involved. Now, you have to keep in mind that since I predicted that, and I also survived COVID and survived being depressed and suicidal again, what got me out of being depressed and being suicidal was crossing Canada coast to coast in 2017. And that's the event when I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians whom I consider family of the 63, and today's special celebration, Quebec, one of the 63 of the Empire. Pledge your allegiance, and we really need to implement my Trinity or theories ASAP. So I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, and I consider family, and I got out of being depressed. I started working out. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. Since that date, I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. So that was a big loss of weight. So lost a lot of weight, more than 80, between 80 and 93 pounds. I think I was around one point, I was 290, so that's what we got, and that's what we gotta get doing with the love, and we gotta get doing with that love side of things, and we gotta be on the consequential side of the prudence life, and that's what we gotta be doing, man, to be XYZ here on explicit, to be aware of the difference, that I'm different, and I have my vulnerabilities. As Aspies, we are part of this tiny small minority of a community, and that's how we are, man, so it's something which we got to work on, to build bridges. It's something which we also have to build bridges on, It's a constant thing which we have, and constant things which we have to be aware of, That's how we have to be aware of the awareness, That's how we have to be aware of, That's how we got, man. That's how we got. That's what it is, man. That's what it is with that. And here you gotta turn our heads left and right, Left and right. Left and right, man. That's what it is for the drill, man, So it's something which we have to be mindful of, the things which we have in common. Because civilization is a privilege. And I was just meditating on the work, 'cause I started Public Workers, and my mind just started meditating on all the public works, on all the public works, on all the public works, of course, which are endeavored now, you know, the public works which are happening now across North America, and how vital they are, how vital the public works are, you know, how vital the public works are, how vital the public works are, you know, very vital to our continuing survival. The North American Civilizational Collective are, of course, survival. And we have to get on the left and on the right and on the go, you know, so it's something which we have to be, you know, doing on the position where we are ourselves, where we find ourselves in today. So I am in a position where I am financially stressed, but I am grateful and very rich, affluent, and wealthy in my rock and roll, in my fitness, in my dancing, in my geopolitical theorizing, in my creativity as well. Because I'm also an artist and a mystic. I believe in reincarnations, and I will to build the four. Now that I'm on discussion of my will to build the four, so I will to build, calling all willing, loving, pledge your allegiance, legions, you know. Friends with benefits only, friends with benefits only, gonna friends with benefits only, friends with benefits only. So I will to build the four, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, on the Canadian-US border, to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. It used to be known as the Mercedes-Benz. Before that, it was used to be known as the Louisiana Superdome. It changed names several times, just like I changed names. And on the Canadian-US border, to be 11 times and to be the biggest and the biggest, most majestic sports coliseum ever built. The biggest sports coliseum ever built for fitness, sportis in perpetuities, for fitness 24/7 sports activities. Whence me and Donald Trump, we're gonna inaugurate it. We're gonna have the inaugural event where me and Donald Trump are gonna fight in a boxing match, because I've been in him, and we'll continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border, on the Canadian-US border, on the Canadian-US border, on the Canadian. Great, beautiful, eh? How it is here. Look at that. Kind of cool. On the Canadian-US border, if you don't know what I'm referring about, yes, finally got one OnlyFan. OnlyFan, give some charity. The owners of the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB. Owner of OnlyFans. Owners of, I don't watch pornography. I gotta celebrate marking more than 3.5 years, eh? I think about summer 2001, it's gonna be 4 years maybe, soon. Maybe by September it's gonna be 4 years since I stopped watching pornography. Now, I'm not morally object. Let it be understood that I don't morally object. I am androgynous, pansexual, part of the LGBTQ community 24/7. 24/7, just like I'm an ASPI 24/7. But I don't object to others watching it morally. Just me, I stopped. I just stopped. And yeah, I do masturbate. Friends with benefits only. Black, white women. You're a man, you're a woman, you're black, white, or rainbow. Black women, black men, white women. In between, or rainbow men, rainbow women, you know. But you gotta be 18 to come loving with me, eh? So you wanna do that BDSM switch, loving. You wanna do that BDSM switch? Gotta do that BDSM switch. BDSM switch loving, you know. Do that BDSM switch loving. You have to be 18 plus, so you're gonna have to be. I'm gonna apply the same principle as carding, you know. I'm gonna card you, ask for the cards, just like when you go. I just like those pink ones. Look at those, just beautiful. Just super beautiful, super gorgeous. All are gorgeous, but these pink ones are really something special, so wow. with the red in middle, the red in the middle. Just love them. You have to be 18 plus to come loving with me, 18 plus is a prerequisite requirement, just like when you get carded for a club entry. At a club entry, you get carded when you buy alcohol, or here Canada, cannabis is legal. Cannabis is legal, cannabis is legal, cannabis is legal. So that's what it is, and that's how we're gonna get drilling, and that's how I'm gonna apply. So I will to build a fort, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum. I'm gonna credit some massage therapy sessions, some feet washing, some tickles to the construction workers. Tickles to the construction workers, feet washing after the jobs, and let's build it 11 times to be bigger than the Caesars Superdome. We're in one of my top 5 Super Bowls. It just looks like a snake. Like inside is a snake, eh? See the head of the snake? And then the body of the snake. Head of the snake, the body of the snake. That's what I see in that. Anyways, kind of looks like a coiled snake. So, the point is, one of my top 5 Super Bowls ever is when my 49ers paradoxically lost by 3 points, but they played a really good game. Kaepernick. And is known as the Hardball Ball, aka Blackout Ball, aka Bro Ball. Several nicknames it has, but of course, is one of my top 5 Super Bowls. Is once and only but it didn't happen because nobody thought it would ever happen. That consequently, the 49ers was led by Jim or John Harbaugh. Harbaugh the surname. Harbaugh. So each head coach of the opposing team, they were biological brothers by the same mother and father, biologically. I mean, as the joke goes, the mother is always kind of sure, I'm not saying anything like that about the Harbaugh brothers. I'm just making a general statement, because in my case, nobody gave me the surname Dragon. I earned it through blood, sweat, and tears, and still got to pay that paperwork to get the surname changed. Turn that A into an O. 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 Turn that A into an O, But I changed it by blood, sweat, and tears, by performing hundreds of my workout training program system, by performing hundreds of my workout training program system, hundreds of my workout training program system, which I created back in 2019 October, consequently to go hand in hand with the World War III scenario, That's what it is, and that's what it is on the go, and that's what it is for the left, for the right, for the go, and that's what it is for the left, right, and in the go, so I gotta get it on the, here I'm gonna get a house for my anonymous friend, and that's what I'm gonna get drilling here for my anonymous friend as we go, to get it on the love and on Ramsey. So back to what I was saying, of course, my surname consequently is because I changed it officially for me, turned that A of my surname into a no. Nobody's born a dragon. Laid the foundation for the dancing goddess of the dragon kingdom. But of course, but consequently, that's one of my top 5 Super Bowls. Top 5 Super Bowls. The Hardball Ball, where my 49ers, although they lost, because I'm a 49er, they lost by 3 points. But really tight. So that was one of my favorite Super Bowls. One of my favorite Super Bowls was the Hardball Ball. That was one of my favorite, the top favorite ones that I had in my life, right? And of course, I also look back from the 60s and 70s and the 80s, right? Even though I was in a past life, I'm a football. Dancing is my favorite sport, but I love gridiron football, so that's what it is with that, and that's what it is for the go, and that's how we got, and that's how we gotta get drilling with the day, man. You know, carpe diem every day since I died in February 2020, between February and March 2020. February 2020. That's what it is, and that's what it is, and that's what it is, and that's what it is for the go. So that's what it is for the XYZ, you know. So yeah, so the theory of football can be extensive. Gridiron, North American football. I'm not gonna go into that, but there's some of my geopolitical theories, especially the new 911 Dragon protocols for the North American Collectif for Canada, United States, to establish the binational Salvation Front, is consequently involved, of course, for total SSD, total security, total service, total defense, as we're going to integrate the 10 provinces, 50 states, and 3 territories into the Democratic Republic. But back to the hardball ball. That was one of my favorites. One of my favorites. Top 5. 49ers lost, but it was the first and only time, because nobody thought there was ever going to be such an event where 2 head coaches are brothers, opposing each other, right? Because my 49ers, Niners, San Francisco, we're Empire, not Nation, was led by one of the brothers, Harbaugh brothers, and the Ravens, who won by 3 points, was led by another brother. I don't know which one was older or younger. I don't know personal details about them, because I'm not that much, I'm an Aspie, so these gossipy type of personal details like stars, and I don't think I ever bought, to be honest. I don't think and most, probably, I don't know how many Aspies, but I would have to say most Aspies would never kind of buy tabloids, because the Aspie brain is just not wired to gossip and public personal life and public life. We tend to focus on ideas and doings, and I guess Aspies we will be good being referees, Aspies will be good at being referees, maybe even coaches. But most what an Aspie would be good at in the NFL, let's say, or NHL and National Hockey League, NBA and MLB, would be a referee more than anything else. And we'd be quite good maybe at being a ref, And you need refs, right? Because referees are super important in a game, because it can determine to somewhat the outcome and the competition to be just, and for the victor to be the better, and to be also sportsmanship, because you get the sportsmanlike conduct. So now I'm just going to focus on the DRT. Super important that I focus on the debt refusion theory before I forget the other things. But just to finalize that, I will to build the fort, the North American People's Imperial Coliseum, Forgotten Goddess Temple. The pyramids call it crimsoners call it our shades of red, the House of the Dragon, and the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community and neurodivergent community. So the DRT now, forget a lot of things I said, just focus on the DRT, stands for D, debt, R, refusion, T, theory. The debt refusion theory also includes monetary integration theory, monetary integration theory. What is monetary integration theory? Monetary integration theory is the financial theory. I would love to go once up there, to see the mountain and how you see the city from up there. I actually don't mind if I would have an apartment there, but anyways, monetary integration theory, up there. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union, monetary integration theory. So monetary integration theory is that financial theory. So monetary integration theory, So we're going to take all the public and the private debt. But again, in my DRT theory is integrated in it monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So that is super important to keep in mind. Keep that in mind, to focus and keep that in mind. So monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. The Germans, the Italians, the French, they got rid of their all currencies. They got rid of their all currencies, you know. They got rid of their all currencies. So, monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union, Keep that in mind, because in the 90s, the Europeans, they destroyed their national central banks. They no longer have national central banks, the Germans, the Italians, the French, of course, right? They destroyed their national central banks. That is something which you have to remember, They destroyed their national central banks. They destroyed the Germans, the Italians, the French, or annulled, whatever you want to use the terminology, destroyed or annulled. Consequently, it happens that they no longer have central banks like they had before. So that is just something you need to remember. You know. So basically, consequently, look at that beautiful metropolis. Look at that beautiful metropolis. That's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get doing on the left and on the right and in the middle. And I love that structure of that building. You can come and check a lot of the architecture here. Architecturally, we kind of rock and roll Montreal. You have a mix of both the old and the new, because Montreal was among the first cities founded in 1504, you know, when Jacques Cartier came up all the way to the mountains. So that is also something which you have to be consequently on the go with that. And that's how we got doing with that, and that's what we got to get doing on the go, you know, from the left, right, and Z. And that's what is a beautiful city there, beautiful skyscrapers. So monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. That is something to keep in mind of, eh? Keep in mind of that, you know. Keep in mind, you know. Keep in mind that. That's what it is. Keep in mind, you know. Here we are. And so you gotta keep that in mind, that my DRT theory integrates in it monetary integration theory. So what is monetary integration theory? Once again, is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. In the European Union. That's what it is with that, and so I gotta get it. So of course, the monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. The financial theory which was implemented in the European Union, the Europeans, they integrated and they created the euro. They integrated the euro, you know, the euro. In there, they destroyed their national central banks, in other words. The Germans, the Italians, the French, you know. The Germans, the Italians, the French, they destroyed the national central banks. The Italians, the Germans, the French, they destroyed. They're not. So they created a common central bank of many nations. And of course, that common bank of many nations is, of course, something which we gonna create here in North America as well. So that's what it is, and that's how we're gonna get doing. So basically, of course, the creation of the currency known as the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, which we're gonna create here in the North American Collective is gonna be our currency, as is now the currency, the euro in the European Union, because they destroyed, let me put the glasses away, they destroyed all the currencies of the 20th century. They destroyed all their currencies from the 20th century. So they put instead a common currency. And the common currency is now the euro, you know? Is now the euro. That's what it is. And that's how we're gonna get doing. That's how we're gonna get doing. We're gonna get doing on the XYZ, and that's what it is. We're gonna create the euro. That's what it is, and that's how we're gonna get drooling with it, and that's how we're gonna get consequential, you know? Because we have to, and again, we have to implement my theory because we're at a point of an emergency situation. Emergency. The motive I'm making the statement is that so I'm going to clarify the position and the statement, which is true. In the financial world now, where we have record debt, both public and private debt, and record credit card debt, we're on the verge of a financial collapse. So this is not a joke. You can check the numbers with the Bank of Canada. You can check information, Google, and do the searches and check for yourself the record credit card debt for Canada and the United States. So super important to note and to keep in mind that both Canada and the United States are in a similar position. Both for the public and the private debt are in a similar position for both the public and the private debt. For both the public and the private debt. So consider that and keep that in mind. That both the public and the private debt is consequently at a point of inflection, and it is in a crisis mode. Right? Both the public and the private. That's what it's important to note. And you can just do a little Google search or a little search at the Bank of Canada and whatever case for. So I'm speaking again for Canada and United States, since my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, has to be implemented. Has to be implemented. Has to be implemented. Canada and United States joint. Canada and United States jointly. So my theory is for Canada and the United States. That's something which you have to keep in mind. Because Canada, and anybody want to finance that I go up and down these stairs 300 times. 300 times for $300, singing some rock and roll for Dragon versus Trump, or for your wife, bride, bridegroom, or for a fellow Aspie. My community faces way too much unemployment. 80% is unacceptable. 11 times higher than the normative situation. The normative situation. The normative situation. The normative situation. So, of course, the point in proposition is, paradoxically again, that I have the solution. Because my solution is the solution, and you can argue all you will, but consequently there's no other solution. Okay, but there is, but it has to resemble fundamentally, in essence, my DRT theory, the debt refusion theory, which integrates monetary integration theory. And I'm sweating like never sweating before. It is the hottest day yet, and I think today and yesterday were the hottest days that I could remember, to be honest. And again, my memory being retrograde amnesia, lost, inaccessible blackout before spring 2014, and a bit late 2014. So I have trouble with basically before 2015. starts troubled memory to remember. I have a good memory in the past years, but just whatever the case may be, you know. So whatever the case may be, and whatever the simultaneously situation is, and we gotta get doing on that drill, and we gotta get drilling on the love, and you know, so that's why we have to be mindful about the love of which we have now, you know. And the point is that we are in a financial crisis. For both Canada and the United States, we have reached record-breaking financial points. The credit cards are of course maxed out for many. Guys, watch it with the raccoons, eh? So there might be a rabbit. There's a few of them. I counted like 4 or 5. They growled a bit, but just... Yeah, they're going back, but just to let you guys know. You're welcome. And some raccoons, you know, sometimes they attack. If they have rabbit, they're rabbit. They're rabbit, eh? Gonna get those vaccines, man. That's what it is. Yeah, I love the youth, you know. You gotta get those raccoons. They were there, so gotta get on that go, man. I know the mountains, so I know that sometimes there's a danger, and you gotta watch it there. They growled, and just for their safety, maybe best if they took another route. You know, I saw 5 there in the shadow. So back to the DRT. Again, we are on the point of annee, a public-private collapse, because both the private citizen like myself, I don't have credit cards myself. I have a credit line, $10,000 in debt to the RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. But most of the credit cards for both Canadians and United States Americans, record-breaking credit card debt. These are the news we've seen in the past days, past weeks, past months, and during the past years of COVID. Record-breaking credit card debt. The problem is, you don't have to have a super mathematical financial brain to compute this. The problem is that fundamentally, the cost of living has increased, and it's still increasing. As you can see in my past videos, as I do some videos when I go shopping or when I calculate the prices. And for example, my wafers, who 3.5 years ago I bought for $1 for 175 grams, but now they're $1.39. That is exactly 39% interest higher, 39% more pricey. Increase, in other words, economically speaking, 39%. The price has increased of the same wafers by 39%. Not many salaries have increased by 39%. The majority of the salary increase is 4.4% since February 2020. So that is just fundamental mathematics. That is just the fundamental mathematics. So thus, there is a point of a crisis. A crisis for Canada and the United States. So that's where the DRT comes in, which integrates the monetary integration theory, the monetary integration theory, the monetary integration theory, monetary integration theory. The DRT, debt refusion theory, is of course the monetary integration theory, the monetary integration theory, the monetary integration theory, monetary integration theory, you know, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. You got to be careful here. There's falling branches like this one. See, this one's a solid biggie. So sometimes it's windy. See, like those branches, they fell. Some of them fell here, and were tossed over by the side. So we are, oh, I'm sweating, the most I ever sweat. It is hot. It felt like 44 yesterday and today. It felt like 44. I never seen anything like this before. Like hot as today and hot as yesterday. I never lived. Not, of course, my memory, like I said, I don't remember living. Maybe it did a few years ago. It was hot like this, but it's hard for me to remember. For what I remember of the past 11 years since 2014, 2015, of any day such as yesterday, the 23rd of June 2025, and today, the 24th of June 2025, with record-breaking heat wave under the heat dome. That's why I gotta stay hydrated. So you also, but I guess if it's coming better, it's changing tonight. Supposedly it's gonna drop, so gonna drop by like 20 degrees radically, I guess. Anyways, the DRT Death Fusion TV. So with record-breaking, also the problem has been that since 2020, February, March 2020, during the coronavirus COVID, there has been a record, see that branch? That is problematic there. That just stands on nothing with some wind that could damage somebody coming here and on the bike. That's why I let people know, see? It's not a joke. That one's dangerous there. See how it's hanging by the other one, see? Look at that, that's proof. That's why in my videos I always warn people that a little bit of wind, tilted northeast or northeast wind, northeast, because that's northeast going that way, northeast wind will of course make it potentially fall on somebody if somebody passes here at the same time. So the problem is, the double problem is also in the public. We had to implement protocols. And here I can clean my lungs. We had to. And you also, it's very fresh air, a bit coolish, not coolish, but it's still hot, I'm still sweating, but it's a record-breaking heat today, so I'm on that record-breaking week of marching and marking out last week for me. That's why I took a rest yesterday. But I said not 2 days in a row, I'm gonna start the first. It's basically my first march of the summer, because it's the 24th, it's Go Quebec Go, you know. Go Quebec Go, that's what we got, and that's what we gotta get doing on the love. So it's something which we gotta be mindful of, to be reminiscent that branches fall here if people stay here. So just be careful if it starts windy, not to be spending too much time here. So the DRT, the Death Fusion theory, is of course my theory for the North American Collective. It integrates, of course, monetary integration theory. Monetary integration theory is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. And of course, because of the record-breaking interest and record-breaking higher scale interest rates, which we had to implement, of course, during the protocols of COVID, which were of course extensive and in usage and still are, some of them, I guess, in some places, but nonetheless, the protocols which we had to implement were of course, especially during the coronavirus, to be implemented, and which had been implemented, and which of course had made that the higher interest on the public debt interest has increased. So consequently, since the GDP has not consequently increased, the GDP has not increased proportionally to what the proportionality of the interest payments have increased. Not to be overly intellectual, academic, scholarly about it, because my main thing is not finance, it is geopolitics, but you have to know a little bit about finance and economics when you, of course, discuss geopolitics. And finance, economics are of course interrelated and deeply integrated within a complexity and a nexus to get it on the go with that. So basically, of course, the ideology behind it is of course that we got to get it on the go and on the drill, and that's why we have to be implementing the North American integrated Canada, United States, binationally to get it on the go, and that's why we got to go drilling on the go, and we got to get doing on the implementation of the collective, you know. So we got to get doing on that drill, and we got to get doing on the left. So the DRT, the Death Fusion theory, we're going to have to be implementing it, and consequently the DRT theory, the Death Fusion theory, is of course the North American Collective, and the North American Collective is a binational salvation front, which of course I'm calling all to support. Part of my dream, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership, you know. The DRT, Death Fusion theory, has to be implemented. because we have record-breaking debt. Public and private debt is exceeding what can be, because our GDP didn't have a great increase. And this statement, which I'm going to make before I go into the DRT, has to be acknowledged as a yes. As a yes. There's no way around this statement. No way around this statement. No way around this fact, geopolitical. And this goes for Canada, United States reciprocally and vice versa. The first, of course, geopolitical statement and declaration is, of course, that we're going to have to get it on that go. We're going to have to get it on the go and on the no. So that's what we're going to, again, have to be implementing the DRT. And now I'm going to just go around it here and going to go on the left and on the right, and for the super zone and for the super left, and for the super left and for the super do's, and for those who do, for those who think, and for those who know that, of course, the record-breaking debt and the fact that the implementation of several layers of protocols and programs during the coronavirus period, which of course now there could be a new wave popping. That's why I'm calling all to please, to the best of one's ability, keep the protocols of hygienic public protocols in the public, the hygienic protocols, and as we're going to establish the Dancing Goddess Dragon Kingdom and the binational salvation plan by primarily implementing my DRT theory, because we're on the verge of a public financial collapse. I'm private. The private citizen, the majority of private citizens are also over indebtedness. So the debt refusion theory, which integrates in that DRT theory, monetary integration theory, is the financial theory, which has to be implemented. So in other words, we are left without a real choice, but obviously there's a choice, but fundamentally, in essence, it has to resemble my DRT theory, that refusion theory for that, and that's what we gotta get doing with that. That's what we gotta get doing on the drill, and we gotta get doing on that love, and on the drill, and on the left, and on the side, and on the all parts. It takes a public-private partnership, a public-private partnership, a PPP, a public-private partnership fundamental to get it on the implementation of the DRT theory, which integrates monetary integration theory. So we're gonna, and again, because our GDP did not increase consequently by the same amount of percentage, which the debt has increased. So that is where the fundamental problem lies, and is hidden in depth between. So that's what it is with that, and that's how we gotta categorize. So due to these fundamentals, that our debt has not increased in the same proportion. Our debt has increased more, of course, than our GDP. Consequently, than our GDP in a big proportion, in a big proportion. So that is best fundamentally to be described as less academic terminology, financial terms as I can be, in less financial terms as I can be, or academic terms, because another Aspe characteristics, we don't have symptoms, there's characteristics of Asperger's, is utilizing too much academic, intellectual, sophisticated, scholarly verbosities and language, which is not proponent to solving the consequential problem, which is fundamentally put on the table at the time being, present time, or it could be intemporal, it could be speculations, if it's geopolitics, speculation about potential, of course, solutions and solving alternatives to the outcomes of the 20th century major geopolitical event known as the Cold War, which lasted almost 45 years, consequently 44 years and 9 months between March 1947 and December 1991. Back to the DRT, the debt refusion theory. So we have no choice but to implement a theory similar, because we are on the verge of a total public and private, it happen tomorrow, a public and private financial collapse. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my debt, your debt, our debt, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. I have $10,000 in debt. So my debt, your debt, our debt, your debt, my debt, our debt, your debt. All the debt, public and private debt, we're going to, of course, convert it into US dollars, all the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars, of course, and we're going to get it to put it in together. So coast to coast, ocean to ocean, we're going to take all the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars. All the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars, and that's how we're going to create, of course, to get it in the go. So all the public and the private debt, and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars. We're going to get it fundamentally, which that's what we're going to do. Public and private debt, we're going to take it all. Public and private debt, we're going to take it all. We're going to take it all, the public and the private debt, convert it into US dollars. So we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, and of course we're gonna create a new currency. But the public and the private debt, including my 10,000, we're gonna take it all coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Take it all coast to coast, ocean to ocean. All the public private debt, converted into US dollars of Canada, converted US dollars. We're gonna add it with the US public private debt. That money is going to be the initial money supply for a new central bank, for a new central bank. Of course, that new central bank, we're going to, whatever we're going to call it, is going to be the dictum and the new standard. Once we're going to create a new currency, just like the Europeans did in the 90s, the Germans, Italians, French, because that's why I made the statement at the beginning that in my DRT theory, in my debt refusion theory, is integrated monetary integration theory. So we're going to create the UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The UE. U dot universal, E dot exchange, U dot unit. The universal exchange unit, the UE, will have the value of the US dollars. That's why we convert all the public-private debt of Canada. We're going to convert the public-private debt of Canada into US dollars. We're going to add it with the US dollars because my DRT theory, we're going to have to implement it binationally. We're going to create this new currency which was going to have the value of the US dollar, which is going to have the value of the US dollar, which is going to have the value of the US dollar, which is going to have, which is going to have the value of the US dollar, which is going to have the value of the US dollar, which is going to have the value of the US dollars, which is going to have the value of the US dollars, which is going to have the value of the US dollars. The value of the US dollar, that's what it's going to have. The value of the US dollar, that's what it's going to have. The value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. 10% is going to be maximum. It's not going to be able to be more than 10%. It's going to be able to be less, not more. So less than 10%, yes. Less than 10%, yes. It could be 3.33, 7.18, 4.18, 6.1, 9.3, below 10. Below 10%. Below 10%. Take it. Oh yeah. So you're gonna go by that way like that, inside, like that by the side, and like a That's all we got. That's all we got, man. Anyway, so the DRT, we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, my $10,000, your $10,000, all of it coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We're gonna convert it into US dollars. So all that money is gonna be the initial money supply to UE. With this money, with the creation of this UE, Universal Exchange, we're gonna make an interest rate level of 10%. 10%. We're not gonna be able to have more than 10% interest. More than 10% interest, more than 10% interest, more than 10% interest, more than 10% interest, more than 10% interest. That's what it is with that, man. That's what it is on the go, man. You know, so that's what we gotta get doing with the new rocks on for you. We're gonna get it on the go, and so we're gonna get on the transponders, and no stingray here needed. Anyway, so we're gonna take all the public and the private debt, all the public and the private debt, we're gonna convert it into US dollars, and all that money we're gonna create this UE, and we're gonna rebuild the infrastructure, rebuild the infrastructure, rebuild the infrastructure of the collective, rebuild the bridges, rebuild the bridges, rebuild the bridges, build the 44, construct the 44. Be careful when you enter here, because the branches can fall. Rebuild the 44. I'm gonna let my main out. Construct the 44 tunnels. In case of a thermonuclear war, we're gonna have to build those 44 tunnels. You know, we're gonna mass finance citizens' fitness. Mass finance citizens' fitness activities. We're gonna mass finance the creation, complementary, covenant, and cooperative creation of the two complementary, cooperative, and public-private partnership fundamental institutions, the Dragon Army, aka North American Integrated SSD Legion for the 63, only for security, only for service, only for defense, and the Dragon Army with the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, for the North American Integrated Dance League, to dance for pleasure, fun, and joy, and to dance for pleasure, for fun, for joy, and for environmental cleaning. See, look at that. Those branches are a danger now. So these rocks, see all these rocks? That branch is about to fall. That branch is about to fall. So that's why you gotta be prudent here. When you go down, you gotta be prudent on that. So you gotta be doing on that. Be careful, there's branches falling, eh? So you gotta be careful here in the forest because branches fall. See? Veo esta aquí.
Por aquí.
Es peligroso aquí porque, ¿me entiendes? Esta, pum, abajo. Porque si estáis aquí, mira a la derecha, a la izquierda, porque aquí, claro, un palo de ahora de los árboles.
Okay.
¿Ves esto? ¿Ves esto en branche? ¿Ves esto? Sí, sí, un poquito de vent.
Las tumbas, gracias.
De nada. Ciao. So that's what it is with that, you know. You gotta be careful, man, because I speak a little bit of Spanish, but gotta get it to be prudent for the branches, you know. Be prudent on the branches with that, and that's how we got, you know. gotta get it on that love side of things, and we gotta get it on the love. And my brothers and sisters, they're speaking some Spanish, I can imagine, but we gotta get them to be prudent for the branches, man, because I don't want anybody getting hurt on my watch, citizen. I'm not the police, but I'm a good Samaritan here as we have in Quebec, and that's why we have to be mindful of, because we got it for the branches to fall. So you gotta look to the right or to the left, as I said, and abajo and above and below. So be careful, guys, because it's so with the creation of the UE, we're gonna create the UE Universal Exchange Unit, and that's how we're gonna have to be prudent for each other. Because see, the branch is not that big, but it fell probably today. See, look, proof. See, branch, it fell. See, I have to throw it out, but that's enough to cause some damage depending on the velocity and where it's falling. And me, I have it on tape, it fell close to me. So the creation of the UE by the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, is a must. We're gonna mass finance citizens' fitness, we're gonna mass finance citizens to work out, we're gonna mass finance tourism, build those 44 tunnels across North America in case of a thermonuclear war, and we're gonna have to be, of course, doing on the go to get doing on the left and on the right, and we're gonna have to get that loving, and we're gonna have to be implementing the LUV, we're gonna have to mass finance tourism, complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dancing Goddess Dragon Army Collectif, Pledge Your Allegiance Legions, and we're gonna, of course, rebuild the infrastructure, build more hydroelectric dams, construct more hydroelectric dams and more hydro dams, and that's what we're gonna have to be doing on the go and on the right and on the left and in the middle and for the left and for the right, and that's what we have to be doing, to be consequentially our acts of valor and love and understanding, and we have to be implementing the DRT. It's a must. So once again, we're gonna take all the public-private debt, all the public debt, we're gonna convert them into US dollars, my $10,000, yours, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That money, we're gonna add it with the US dollars. That money, we're gonna add it because it has to be binational. It can be extended to Mexico. Mexico is part of the North American Collective, but fundamentally binational. We're gonna get rid of the border. We're gonna make a great census. We're gonna make a great census. We're gonna make a great census. A great census. Census. We have to do a great census. A great census. We have to do a great census. A great census. A great census. We have to do a great census. A census. A great 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 census. See, even the bird OnlyFans agrees. Who owns OnlyFans? Who owns OnlyFans? It takes all, public and private, all the North American Collective, CEOs, organizations. The BlackRock and Blackstone are two different financial institutions, but it takes my brother Scorpio, Bill Gates, and we're gonna create a census. We're gonna create a new passport, Canada joint. We're gonna fuse Canada and United States, have a strong healthcare system. It's gonna be a new providential welfare states of the new republic, Democratic Republic, the empire of the 63. We're going to create the Dragon Army to operate on the new 911 protocols, and we're going to implement Operation Northern Scorpion, which is based on my total mobile defense theory. And when we add the fifth letter to that acronym, S for the system, that means that the system is put into practice and action, but it's a binational security matter. This matter of binational security, so I can only discuss it with my brothers and sisters and the CCCCCs and David McGinty, the new national defense, and Big Hexet and Pam Bondi, Pete Hexet, Minister of National Security, Quebec, Canada, and Minister of National Security, of course, National Security Director. Of course, we're gonna have to discuss it with them and on the mountain, the summit, as it is the NATO summit now, and of course Tulsi Gabbard, and other private and public citizens involved in security of the Quebec, Canada Collective, and pledge your allegiance. Here we are. Now we're going to switch to that French because the word tonnerre means thunder. So grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. Going to switch left to right and going to switch to that French, encouraging all to work out, train, exercise by implementing my DRT. We're going to create it to complement, recover the non-cooperative institutions. We're also going to mass finance, lay the foundations for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, create a common passport, a common currency, and get rid of the border and focus on SSD, fight the dragon army, public-private partnership, new SSD, security legion for the 63 mobilization of 1% of the population. Plus, we're going to integrate it with all existing public and private institutions for security across the 10 provinces, 50 states, plus 3 territories, the 63. As a democratic republican, my centrism, pro-labor and love revolutionary centrism, the kingdom best. We're going to mass finance the dancing goddess army for loving. And here we are to make a new pact, a new alliance in the 21st century. Is the word tonnerre there. Spells that thunder, thunder, thunder. That's what that says. So listen to the birds, and we're gonna switch to that French. Grateful, thankful, my rent's paid, electricity bills paid. I'm running out of coffee, but hey, running out of coffee, but I got some of that coffee, which is decaf. So I gotta be grateful for. I got some food in the backpack. I got some onions, so we're gonna rock and roll for that. Saint-Jean, bienvenue la tonnerre. Peut-être ça en vient, la canicule là. C'est la Saint-Jean québécoise puis québécoise spéciale de la Saint-Jean de votre aspect artiste athlète. Je vais commencer avec des chansons de rock-and-roll parce que quand je suis bon au rock-and-roll, d'autres choses je suis pas très bon car j'ai l'Asperger's. Je vis avec cette condition de divergence qui s'appelle l'Asperger's, mais je fais partie de la... C'est 0,44%, donc moins d'1%, moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage qui vivent avec cette condition de neurodivergence, l'Asperger's. Donc, mais je suis québécois, canadien, américain, puis je fête la fête nationale de la Saint-Jean. Ben, pour moi, les saints, ben, c'est pas mal le rock'n'roll, le bénétat, je veux rien savoir, donnez-moi une bière à la place. Personne m'a invité pour la danse, pour la chanson de la Saint-Jean à l'Assemblée nationale à Montréal, mais je vous envoie des bénédictions, des câlins, des bisous, puis des chatouilles, puis du rock'n'roll où il y a le soleil qui se couche et qui se lève maintenant. Il y a toujours un coucher puis un lever du soleil, fait que je vais pas tarder de vous inquiéter, puis je veux juste vous chatouiller un peu avec mes tunes, chansons en mode libre sur la montagne, bien sûr, pour les faire ici, pour les fesses qui bougent, de la danse, pour bien sûr, pour le faire du l'envoi dans la forêt, bien sûr, pour ça fait bien sûr pour l'enlèvement extraterrestre. Non, je vois pas des objets non identifiables, peut-être non, bien sûr, pour le faire dans ce point d'envoûtement, d'avoir bien sûr dans le fer du chemin, puis on dirait qu'il y a de la tonnerre qui s'en vient dans les airs, mais c'est la canicule, il y a un record de chaleur, je m'en souviens même pas moi-même, un record de chaleur aussi chaud qu'aujourd'hui, hein. Ça sentait 44, ils ont dit à radio et bien sûr sur l'ordinateur où j'ai checké sur que je vais pour le climat, bien sûr, pour l'environnement, pour les conditions météorologiques. Ça dit, ça sent comme 44 degrés hier puis aujourd'hui. J'ai jamais vécu ça, puis il faisait chaud, mais hier, je me suis reposé parce que la semaine passée, j'ai fini, bien sûr, avec un record d'entraînement. J'ai fait plus que 30 heures de marche d'entraînement, puis bien sûr, de mes méditations angéliques, parce que vous savez que c'est ça que je fais, bien sûr, tous les jours, bien sûr, pour les faire, bien sûr, dans cette condition de où que je vis maintenant, bien sûr, avec la condition de neurodivergence, pour le faire dans cette condition de l'inquiétude que le climat change. Puis c'est ça que moi, je m'en souviens, ma mémoire, que tu sais, c'est le Québec, je me souviens, mais moi, je me souviens jusqu'en 2015, 2014, mais après ça, c'est une North Star parce que j'ai la perte de mémoire. Je me souviens juste avoir vécu dans une place avec de la moisissure à Côte-de-Neige, sur l'île de Montréal, la métropole de Montréal, la métropole, la ville la plus peuplée là, au Québec, au Canada, c'est la deuxième, puis ça fait partie des 10 plus peuplées villes du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, même quand on inclut le Mexique. Bon, en tout cas, c'est 2,5 millions, puis avec l'Est, puis l'Ouest, puis le Nord, puis le Sud, c'est 40,5 millions, que ça soit dans un point de convergence d'où ça soit aujourd'hui qu'on soit bien sûr dans la fête d'avoir de cette connaissance d'où que je suis maintenant en tant qu'aspire artiste athlète puis artiste intéressé en géopolitique. Ça fait quelque chose, bien sûr, que ça fait pour le faire de la situation de le verbe pour faire une approche vis-à-vis de la Saint-Jean, que c'est aussi la canicule. sévère, par exemple. C'est 44, là. J'ai jamais entendu mes souvenirs, là. Peut-être qu'il y en avait avant. Dites-moi aller, hein. Peut-être que je vais faire une vérification s'il y a un record. Hier, je sais qu'il y a un record, le 23 juin, hier, lundi, j'ai pris un repos moi-même, puis j'ai pris un bain, parce que vous savez que je me plains, j'aimerais ça me permettre un massage thérapeutique, mais malheureusement, chez nous, chez ma communauté d'Asperger's, le niveau de sans-emploi est 80%. C'est vraiment inacceptable, bien sûr. C'est vraiment inacceptable. C'est vraiment inacceptable, tu sais, d'avoir 80%, mais d'avoir 80%, bien sûr, de 80%, là, c'est beaucoup, tu sais. C'est beaucoup, 80%. C'est inacceptable dans une société, mais c'est, encore une fois, l'Asperger's, l'autisme, mon fonctionne, j'utilise le mot Asperger's. C'est ça, je suis moi-même, tu sais, je vis avec cette condition. Puis ça faisait longtemps que je ne l'avais pas accepté, bien des années. Hein. On me l'avait diagnostiqué, plusieurs personnes, on m'a dit, tu sais que tu as l'Asperger's, hein, t'es un aspi, tu as l'Asperger's, c'est ça que ton cerveau est différent, tu as des mutations, fait que toi tu vois le monde différemment. C'est pour ça, la manière dont tu communiques, c'est les caractéristiques de la manière à l'Asperger's. Fait que moi, je voulais pas accepter ça comme un stigme, tu sais. C'est comme, non, je veux pas être différent parce que les Asperger, je veux pas, on est différent. Puis les gens, la plupart, vous savez qu'on est différent. Quand vous êtes 99,56%, nous les Aspergers, on est 0,44%. Même pas 1%, là. Même pas la moitié d'un pourcentage. Puis c'est inacceptable que cette petite majorité d'Aspergers, d'autistes hautement fonctionnels, aillent tellement de sans-emploi. 80%, là. C'est inacceptable, mes chers, là, 80%. Mais moi, j'ai bien de l'emploi, j'ai bien aimé. C'est juste que nous, tu sais, les affaires de... On ne comprend pas, tu sais, mettons, on a parlé dans le dos, parler des autres, de qu'est-ce que c'est ça, comme ça. C'est des choses que nous, on ne comprend pas. Des fois, on a certaines caractéristiques, parce que ce n'est pas des symptômes qui peuvent sembler étranges. Comme quand, si vous voyez quelqu'un dans le marché, dans le supermarché, là, qui est en train de prendre un objet, puis l'inspecter proche de l'œil, tu sais, il approche tellement proche l'objet, que ça soit quelque chose qu'il veut acheter ou inspecter pour l'achat, c'est possible que cette personne ait l'Asperger's, qu'il soit aspi aussi. Parce que moi, c'est une de mes caractéristiques. Ou répéter 2-3 fois la même chose. Ou l'école est là, ça veut dire verbatim par verbatim, c'est en latin. Ça veut dire mot par mot qu'est-ce que quelqu'un d'autre veut dire. Qu'est-ce que d'autre veut dire, qu'est-ce que quelqu'un d'autre veut dire, bien sûr. C'est de l'affaire, bien sûr, qu'il soit, bien sûr, dans ce point de convergence pour... faire de la solution, là, qu'on aille dans la solution qu'on aille dans la solution, bien sûr, de faire là, dans ces points de convergence où que je suis rendu maintenant, moi aussi, de vivre, bien sûr, avec cette condition de neurodivergence. C'est bien sûr une condition avec laquelle qu'on vit, hein, c'est pas quand même, c'est pas trop... Puis moi, j'aime pas la violence, j'aime pas la violence, mais je l'ai vécu moi-même, la violence. Je me suis fait attaquer il y a une couple d'années. Je vais aller retrouver, bien sûr, à l'hôpital général juif, les archives. Là, je me suis fait attaquer, puis je suis tombé, je connais ma tête par terre. J'avais le bras droit disloqué. C'était comme l'épaule, là. L'épaule droit disloqué, puis j'étais mis sur des médicaments. J'étais comme dans un coma pendant un couple de jours, puis j'ai déménagé d'une petite place où il y avait beaucoup de moisissures. Il y avait beaucoup de moisissures, bien sûr, pour l'affaire, bien sûr, dans une affaire, bien sûr. Et c'est ça. Quand il y a une lumière, il y a une ombre, j'imagine. Quand il y a une lumière, il y a une ombre, j'imagine. Quand il y a une lumière, il y a une ombre, j'imagine. Quand il y a une lumière, il y a une ombre. Bon, fait que je vis avec ça, mais je vis avec 24 sur 24, je peux pas changer ça. Ça change pas, ça se corrige pas, s'il vous plaît. Arrêtez de dire que c'est une maladie. L'Asperger, c'est pas une maladie. Nous, les Aspi, on est différents. Notre cerveau, il y a des mutations. Puis oui, j'ai de la misère dans certaines choses. Oui, dans certaines choses, je suis pas bon. Mettons, tu sais, l'espace personnel, là. Comme je disais, je sais pas exactement, c'était en 2015-2014 quand je me suis fait attaquer, puis j'habitais dans une place où il y avait beaucoup de moisissures. C'était comme dans une cellule en souterrain, là. C'était souterrain, là. C'était comme dans le souterrain. C'était en dessous de la terre. En dessous de la terre. c'était en dessous de la terre, puis à Montréal, sur l'île de Montréal, bien sûr, c'était en dessous de la terre, bien sûr, c'était en dessous de la terre souterrain, puis c'est bien sûr ce sous-sol, je m'en souviens, j'ai de la misère à me souvenir de ma vie avant ça, même. Des fois, ça revient, c'est à cause du trompe ou prolongé ou l'alcool ou la drogue qui cause la perte de mémoire. Bien, j'ai une bonne mémoire, c'est juste, j'ai de la misère à accéder à mes mémoires, ma vie avant 2015, 2014, 2015, là, c'est ça le problème. Mais ça me dérange pas vraiment, là, ça me sert vraiment à rien. J'ai déménagé où j'habite là avec rien, là, même que j'ai souffert, j'ai eu tellement d'emplois, mais c'est dur de garder un emploi pour l'inspi parce qu'on est différent. Fait que ces choses de différence, des fois, ça crée certaines confusions, certaines angoisses. Encore une fois, l'Asperger, c'est pas une maladie mentale. Je célèbre la Saint-Jean aujourd'hui, j'aurais aimé vous danser pour vous chanter, mais je viens à ma deuxième maison, le Mont-Royal. Tu sais. Je viens ici parce que j'ai une routine, j'ai un rituel, puis même pour la Saint-Jean, j'ai checké un peu de vidéos, un peu de débat dommage, quand je m'ennuie un peu, ben, je me filais pas trop aujourd'hui. Là, puis ça, c'est une autre caractéristique des Asperger. Nous, on va dire, mettons, on demande comment vous êtes, puis même, je suis en crise financière. Maintenant, c'est juste ça, je vis vraiment. Je me sens me permettre un massage, là, mais si vous voulez faire des amis avec bénéfice, des amis avec bénéfice, ben, des amis avec bénéfice seulement, prêter allégeance les gens pour mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, c'est ces choses-là, bien sûr, qu'il faut qu'on fasse dans cette situation qu'on vit. Et bien sûr, c'est cette condition de neurodivergence avec laquelle on vit. Et cette condition de neurodivergence n'a pas de... Il n'y a pas de médicament pour l'Asperger parce que c'est pas une maladie. Fait qu'on ne peut pas changer ces mutations du cerveau. En d'autres mots, on doit juste bâtir des ponts parce qu'on doit vivre ensemble, on doit coopérer, puis on doit avoir du travail. Puis moi-même, nous, les Asperger, on a qu'est-ce qu'on appelle des conditions qui s'appellent les intérêts sujets, bien sûr, spéciaux. Ces sujets spéciaux, bien sûr, ça préoccupe, bien sûr, la plupart de notre temps. C'est ça. Ça préoccupe la plupart de notre temps, bien sûr, et ces points de préoccupation de la plupart de notre temps, c'est bien sûr quelque chose qu'il faut qu'on y aille dans la préoccupation d'aujourd'hui ou qu'on vit maintenant, qu'on vit puis qu'on doit dire que moi, mes préoccupations, bien sûr, c'est le point d'avoir une préoccupation, la géopolitique. C'est nos intérêts spéciaux. Je suis connu comme intérêt obsessif, mais pour nous, c'est pas une obsession parce que ça, c'est notre domaine. Puis des aspects, on peut être intense, super concentré, super dedans. Quand on travaille, on étudie, on s'engage vis-à-vis de nos intérêts spéciaux. Fait que moi, nous, les Aspergers, comme moi incluant moi-même, faisant partie de cette minorité, nous, on a une routine quand même qui peut être assez sévère. Une routine reliée, routine rituelle un peu qui se tourne, la plupart de notre temps se tourne autour de ses intérêts spéciaux. Puis moi-même, bien sûr, c'est l'entraînement physique, c'est l'entraînement physique, bien sûr, 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 qu'il faut qu'on se préoccupe, bien sûr, que la géopolitique, bien sûr, c'est la géopolitique, bien sûr, dans ce point de... Pour moi-même, c'est la géopolitique, ça peut être bien sûr l'art, l'histoire, ça peut être bien sûr d'autres choses pour un certain individu, ça peut être d'autres choses pour un individu. Ça peut être autre chose pour un individu. Pour moi-même, c'est la géopolitique. C'est mon royaume, mon domaine, puis j'ai la preuve pour ce que je vais me prononcer. Nous, là, moi, j'ai la preuve pour ça. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe aujourd'hui. En 2019, en octobre, j'ai prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale à l'avenir. En octobre 2019, puis en conséquence, j'ai créé un entraînement physique pour y aller en conséquence avec une situation de guerre mondiale qui a, peut-être ça a commencé avec l'Iran et Israël, y a-t-il un cessez-le-feu? Il n'y en a pas. C'est pas clair exactement qu'est-ce qui se passe. C'est pas clair, y a-t-il un cessez-le-feu? Il n'y en a pas. Puis moi, je suis pas sur le terrain, fait que je suis éduqué, je suis intellectuel, académique dans ce point de vue de la géopolitique, parce que c'est international, c'est mondial, la géopolitique, mais je suis un Québécois, Canadien, Nord-Américain. mes théories, mes philosophies sont pour ce que j'appelle le grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, pour le grand collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, dont le Québec en fait partie dans cette connaissance. Puis bien sûr, la théorie puis la géopolitique, c'est conséquemment pour le collectif de l'Amérique du Nord. Donc, nous, le Québec, aujourd'hui, on fête la Saint-Jean. Puis, bien sûr, pour le français, si moi, je le fais pas, ma part, je fais mes vidéos bilingues. Bien, je fais ma part pour le français. Si quelqu'un fait un effort, mais je dis mais merci pour avoir fait un effort, puis je vous encourage, puis ci, puis ça. Puis regardez ce petit film du Québec, regardez, checkez ce band, ce chanson de Rock&Roll, peut-être vous allez aimer ça, qu'est-ce que vous trouvez de ça. L'engagement socioculturel vis-à-vis le Québec qui se tourne autour du français aussi. Parce que si moi je le fais pas, mais vous le faites pas, ça prend un individu, comme pour, bien sûr, l'écologie. Vous voyez qu'il y a bien du monde, bien des citoyens qui jettent des choses en plastique, en verre ou en métal, canette par exemple, qui devraient aller dans le recyclage. Mais ça prend l'action individuelle, mes chers. C'est ça, ça prend l'action à l'individuel. C'est pas juste le collectif, c'est l'individu. Puis nous, en tant que collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, aujourd'hui la Saint-Jean, que je dois m'en parler, bien sûr, aujourd'hui de la TRD, puis encore une fois, l'Asperger, c'est pas une maladie. C'est une condition de neurodivergence. Il n'y a pas de médicaments. Je dois juste faire la gestion de mes caractéristiques. C'est pas des symptômes. Moi, j'aime pas la violence. Puis j'ai souffert, j'étais en dépression, j'étais en suicidaire. Malheureusement, chez ma communauté, cette petite communauté de citoyens qui vivent avec l'Asperger, c'est le taux de, pas juste de sans-emploi, il est à 80%. C'est inacceptable, là. C'est inacceptable, c'est pour ça qu'on doit toujours bâtir des ponts. Et bien sûr, j'ai pris connaissance, j'ai finalement accepté, il y a 3 ans et demi, que je suis Asperger, j'ai l'Asperger, donc j'ai cette condition de neurodivergence qui me fait que j'ai l'Asperger dans ce point de vie où que je vis aujourd'hui avec la méditation, puis avec qu'est-ce que je suis à 100%, parce que je ne peux pas changer, je dois juste faire des compromis, comme qu'on a fait le grand compromis du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, qu'on continue à faire, que la langue du français au Québec, pour l'année 63, quand on va se fusionner avec les États-Unis, on va continuer à faire ce grand compromis, puis moi-même, je vais le faire par mes chansons rock-and-roll, puis par, bien sûr, aider à bâtir d'autres centrales d'Hydro-Québec, blablabla. Bon, c'est... L'Asperger, encore une fois, c'est ça. Il faut bâtir des ponts, mais là, j'ai été suicidaire, j'étais en dépression. Ben des aspis, ils vivent ça. 9 fois plus que vous, les neurotypiques. Vous êtes les 99,56% vis-à-vis nous, les 0,44%. Imaginez-vous, là, 0,44%, c'est pas beaucoup, ça. Pas beaucoup, là. C'est moins d'1 sur 300. Fait que je dois vivre avec ça. Puis je dois faire la gestion, puis aviser les gens que j'ai certaines caractéristiques qui sont dues à cause de l'Asperger. Puis oui, dans certaines choses, j'ai de la misère, je suis pas bon, je suis nul, j'ai besoin d'un certain soutien, moi-même. Fait que c'est ces choses-là, bien sûr, que je dois le faire moi-même dans cette chose d'avoir de la géopolitique, d'avoir bien sûr une affaire de la géopolitique, que ça soit bien sûr dans cette conséquence où que je suis bien sûr aujourd'hui, ma deuxième maison, je me sens bien ici. Quand je viens ici, j'ai ma routine, c'est comme ma deuxième maison, ma maîtresse, la forêt, mon docteur, la montagne. Puis j'ai sorti de ma dépression en 2017, hein. Quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte, ça m'a fait sortir de ma dépression, ça. J'ai eu un réveil, j'ai dit tellement de choses à faire, à voir. J'ai établi un esprit de corps solide avec le Québec, les Québécois, les Canadiens, Canadiennes, puis bien sûr avec les États-Unis. Les États-Unis, bien sûr, c'est quelque chose. Puis que ça soit les États-Unis, bien sûr, dans ce grand compromis, que ce soit l'histoire de la XYZ, puis ça soit dans l'histoire de la gauche puis de la droite, c'est dans le centrisme, bien sûr, qui se trouve aujourd'hui à avoir un point de contention puis de possible effondrement des finances. Fait que pour la Saint-Jean, mais je suis bon pour vous enchanter du rock-and-roll, mais je suis bon pour vous en parler de moi et de moi-même, puis l'Asperger, juste savoir que vous êtes intéressé, c'est quoi l'Asperger, vous lisez un livre là-dessus, demandez à la bibliothécaire, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, l'Asperger, puis ils vont vous donner un bon livre, comme moi-même, je vais envoyer la gratitude, puis dire des remerciements à mon ami anonyme qui m'avait donné un livre, bien sûr, un livre vis-à-vis, bien sûr, ce livre, bien sûr, de la conséquence, pour avoir, bien sûr, ce livre Hey, il s'allume. Fait que ici, je vais vous discuter de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Super important que je vous discute de la TRD aussitôt possible. Fait que ça va être maintenant dans ce beau champ de fleurs blanches. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est ma théorie pour nous sortir de où qu'on est rendu au point des finances publiques. Privee aussi, moi-même, j'ai pas de carte de crédit, je suis en dette de 10 000 $. Fait que pour la Saint-Jean, c'est ça mon petit cadeau encore avec du Rock&Roll, l'amour, la TRD. Même que je vais devoir survivre avec 880 $ pour m'avoir pour le juillet qui s'en vient. Fait que je suis en crise financière moi-même, j'ai 10 000 $ de dette, mais je suis riche en géopolitique. Je suis un analyste et théoricien en géopolitique, puis c'est un paradoxe, là, parce que je vous mets sur la table la TRD, la théorie de la refusion de la dette. Je ne suis pas un expert en économie, dans les finances, dans le commerce, mais ça, je peux vous le dire que grâce que mon intérêt spécial, je connais comme intérêt obsessif, parallèlement au sport, à l'entraînement physique, le sport que je préfère en première place, c'est la danse. Et bien sûr, la danse, parallèlement, bien sûr, c'est la danse pour la faire, bien sûr, dans ce point de vue, ou que ça soit la danse, puis bien sûr, dans l'entraînement physique aussi, bien sûr, la danse et le rock-and-roll, bien sûr, le rock-and-roll que je préfère dans ce rock-and-roll, puis bien sûr, la géopolitique, et c'est dans ce point de convergence que je dois dire, bien sûr, que dans la géopolitique, ça fait bien sûr qu'il y a un terme En tout cas, fait que c'est dans ces choses, bien sûr, que je dois dire de la même manière que on est rendu aujourd'hui dans l'avoir du processus où que je suis moi-même différent, puis je dois pas utiliser trop de mots sophistiqués, académiques, intellectuels pour expliquer la théorie. C'est une autre caractéristique des Asperger, des fois, est trop académique, un peu trop intellectuel dans la manière qu'on s'exprime dans certaines choses ou que ces choses-là, les théories peut-être, ou les philosophies ou les théories qui peuvent expliquer ou pour une solution ou pour un problème vis-à-vis, un problème ou une solution, ça peut être une des deux, mais vis-à-vis, qu'est-ce que je veux dire, c'est la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Pourquoi je dis que c'est la seule solution, mais c'est pas exactement la seule solution, mais quelque chose, bien sûr, qui ressemble à cette théorie, c'est quelque chose de bien sûr, quelque chose qui ressemble à cette théorie. La théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est bien sûr la TRD, bien sûr, pour le faire. Bien sûr, dans cette théorie de la refusion de la dette, il faut bien sûr pour le faire dans ce point de compréhension le plus simple que je puisse vous le présenter pour ce petit cadeau de la Saint-Jean, de votre dragon arc-en-ciel qui a été né femme ici en 1688, puis bien sûr 1688 à 1700, bien sûr, c'est une chose que je dois dire, j'ai été né femme, j'ai été né homme, j'ai été né femme dans d'autres réincarnations. Moi, je suis mystique, j'ai pas toutes les réponses, mais je veux bâtir le temple de la déesse oubliée, parallèlement au Colisée de l'Amérique du Nord, bien sûr, impérial, pour que ce soit, bien sûr, dans un projet où que je dois discuter maintenant de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, qui inclut la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je vous l'explique aussitôt maintenant. On est à veille d'avoir un effondrement des finances publiques et privées. On vit un record de dette sur endettement. Moi, j'ai pas de carte de crédit, mais on voit depuis les jours qui sont passés, les semaines, les mois, les années depuis 2020, février, que bien des citoyens, puis ça, je m'adresse vis-à-vis le Canada, Québec, États-Unis, avec les États-Unis binationales, entre autres mots, l'Amérique du Nord, mais j'inclus moins le Mexique dans cette analyse financière, parce que le Mexique a un peso, puis ils sont intégrés, mais ils sont nord-américains, mais je m'interdis, premièrement, c'est pour le Canada, États-Unis, le Mexique, s'ils veulent se joindre, oui, mais premièrement, binational. Fait que, on est un surendettement. Le niveau de pourcentage de l'augmentation de l'intérêt qu'on a payé vis-à-vis le surendettement durant la COVID par les programmes qui ont dû être implémentés, on ne peut pas soutenir ça. C'est ça qu'il faut souligner et dire oui à ça, parce que même si on n'est pas des financiers, on n'est pas des économiques dans le commerce, les principes mathématiques, on peut les voir par la simplicité du pourcentage, puis ça en prend juste un niveau secondaire 4, 5, ou 3, 4, 5, là, ou même 2, 3, 4, 5, là, pour le savoir, tu sais, secondaire, tu sais, financièrement parlant. Fait que, on est proche d'avoir un effondrement financier. On va devoir couper quelque chose dans le budget, puis que ce soit la GRC, la police, ou que ce soit dans les services de santé, que ce soit d'autres choses. On ne peut pas soutenir ce niveau d'endettement qu'on est rendu maintenant. Fait que je vous l'explique ici en regardant la ville, puis en vous saluant pour la Saint-Jean avant que je retourne chez nous, parce que je voulais faire une petite... Hey, c'est bleu! Et c'est bleu, blanc, blanc, Saint-Jean, c'est bleu, blanc, blanc, Saint-Jean. Je suis sur la Montréal, la montagne de chez nous, de chez moi. Je vous encourage à faire de l'entraînement physique québécois et québécoise. Fait que la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, et quelle belle ville, hein? La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, il faut qu'on... Ça, c'est mon petit cadeau pour vous. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça inclut la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000, votre 10 000, toute la dette publique-privée, incluant mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000, toute la dette publique-privée, bien sûr, de côte à côte, de séance en séance. Toute cette dette-là, on va faire la conversion, incluant mon 10 000, ton 10 000, toute la dette publique-privée, de côte à côte, on va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Toute cette dette-là, on va faire l'addition avec la dette publique-privée des États-Unis, la dette publique-privée des États-Unis. On va faire la création d'une nouvelle banque comme qu'on fait en Europe. Parce que dans ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça intègre la théorie d'intégration monétaire. Donc, dedans, la TRD, ma TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette, T théorie R, refusion de la dette, ça inclut la théorie d'intégration monétaire. La théorie d'intégration monétaire, ça contient la théorie, c'est la théorie que les Européens ont faite dans les années 90. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000, toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, son 10 000, ton 10 000. On va ramasser de côte à côte toute la dette publique-privée du Canada. On va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. On va faire l'addition avec la dette publique des États-Unis ensemble. Toute cette dette-là, on va faire l'addition ensemble, on va faire la création d'une nouvelle banque pour la création d'une nouvelle monnaie. Fait que toute la dette publique privée du Canada, convertir cette dette-là dans la devise des États-Unis, faire l'addition avec la dette publique privée des États-Unis, tout cet argent-là, ça va être l'argent initial pour la création d'une nouvelle banque, pour la création d'une nouvelle banque, pour la création d'une nouvelle banque, pour la création d'une nouvelle banque. On va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie, unité d'échange universelle. U point unité, A point échange, point universel. Unité d'échange universelle. U point unité, A point échange, point universel. Oui. U point unité, U point, A point unité. Unité d'échange universelle. Unité d'échange universelle. Unité d'échange universelle. L'unité d'échange universelle va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis, du dollar des États-Unis, du dollar des États-Unis, du dollar des États-Unis. Cet argent-là va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Du dollar des États-Unis. Cet argent-là va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. C'est oui, l'unité d'échange universelle qu'on va créer pour les 63, les 10 provinces 50 États et 3 territoires qu'on va fusionner ensemble. Donc l'unité d'échange universelle va avoir la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Avec cet argent-là, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure du Québec, du Canada, des États-Unis. On va fusionner avec les États-Unis, finir avec la frontière. On va bâtir les 44 tunnels dans le cas d'une bombe thermonucléaire pour la continuité puis la survie du collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, la survie du civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord, la civilisation du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, bien sûr, le collectif de la civilisation américaine. Et bien sûr, dans ce point de compromis et de convergence, on va financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, parce que ça fait du bien pour la santé mentale. Bien sûr, aussi financer les gens au tourisme, parce que moi, ça fait du bien. Financer les 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit l'Armée du Dragon, la Ligue pour la sécurité service défense du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, pour la sécurité service défense du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord, la Ligue de danse, soit l'armée de la déesse qui danse, pour danser pour le plaisir, puis pour l'environnement, pour le nettoyage des 63, pour l'environnement, pour la cause environnementale, dans les 63. On va faire pour la sécurité service défense de côte à côte, océan. On va bâtir les 44 tunnels, on va bâtir les ghettos du Canada, du Québec, des États-Unis. On va financer l'entraînement physique. Ça fait du bien. On va financer le tourisme pour établir un esprit de corps solide avec l'Empire, le royaume, l'Empire. Puis, bien sûr, on va rebâtir l'infrastructure, bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec. On va bâtir plus de centrales de l'Hydro-Québec. Fait qu'on va bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec ensemble. On va bâtir plus de centrales, financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, financer les gens au tourisme. Fait qu'on va faire beaucoup de bien avec l'implémentation de la TRD. Des amis avec bénéfice seulement. Vous voulez me faire l'amour, si vous êtes noir, blanc, arc-en-ciel, homme-femme, je suis androgyne, pansexuel avec Asperger's, puis il faut que vous ayez 18 ans, par exemple. Il faut que vous ayez 18 ans, il faut que vous ayez 18 ans, il faut que vous ayez 18 ans. Là. Comme je vous carte, comme quand vous allez à SQDC pour acheter du cannabis ou bien sûr d'autres produits, là, que vous achetez de l'alcool, bien sûr, pour vous acheter, bien sûr, qu'est-ce que vous voulez, mais c'est des choses, bien sûr, qu'il faut que je fasse moi-même. Dans ce point de crise, la TRD doit être implémentée, mes chers. On doit faire la TRD, puis bâtir ces 44 tunnels, bâtir l'infrastructure, bâtir plus de centrales d'Hydro-Québec, financer les gens à l'entraînement physique, financer les gens au tourisme. On va faire beaucoup de bien commun. Beaucoup de bien commun. Beaucoup de bien commun avec ça. Beaucoup de bien commun avec cela. Prêtez allégeance les gens, puis je vous laisse avec une chanson pour la Saint-Jean. Une chanson des fleurs sur la Saint-Jean. C'est la TRD que je vous transmets. Québécois et Québécoises, je suis au sommet de la montagne, dans la province, que je vous envoie. J'ai pas d'argent, mais je vous envoie l'amour des bisous. Et travailleurs du Québec, les pompiers, les boulangers, la boulange, sa boulange. Au sommet de la montagne, où je me retrouve. Puis il faut que je m'hydrate, je commence à avoir soif. Québécois et Québécoises, oh, chauve-souris, en haut ça danse, chauve-souris en haut ça danse. Oh, une autre chauve-souris, j'en vois 4, 4, 4. Et une autre, c'est-tu la même? Ça veut dire qu'il y en a peut-être plus que 4. J'arrête que je compte, je m'attaque, peut-être je me tourne en vampire à Carmina. Hop, on fait un film à Dracula. Ah, regarde que ça soit, on dirait. Oh, c'est des chauves-souris, c'est peut-être un vampire. Je suis pas un vampire, je suis un aspi que je chante. Je chante en arc-en-ciel pour ça danse, sinon j'arrête puis je tape. Oh, là, on dirait dans ton air une autre chauve-souris. Ça avance. Les pieds dans les airs. Québécois, Québécoises. Une chanson de la montagne. Il faut que je m'attache à la ceinture, puis je m'en aille, je m'hydrate.
telling me we did not this week. You remember this field of flowers? I don't. Or this pile of rocks? I don't remember that. They did it now. We didn't.
Guys, be careful. Sometimes the branches fall, eh?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. See, your see how get ready for that cadence. Get ready for that cadence. French bilingual special cadence. On top of the mountain, rock and roll. 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. Special heat wave. Good field, you get lost in the forest on the mountain. Big place to explore, just be prudent. Make some good loving hugging. I'd rather be seeing people here hugging, kissing, and making out, dancing, and working out, training than get hit by any branches, unless you want me to get hurt, then be hurt 11-fold. Avenge the 11-fold, unless you want Dragon Zero. Nobody's born a dragon through blood, sweat, and tears. Peace and love, 63, 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories. You already know for the empire, the kingdom. The cadence, $10,000 in debt to the RBC, but I'm rich, wealthy. Friends, create that rock and roll songs every day. Gotta give it on, you know. Gotta give it as you know. So you know up and let's go. For the left and for the right. You know that we army sight. For the left and for the side. You know that we gotta bite. For the left and for the right. You know that we army sight. Army sights and in the lights. Gotta give it for your spite. Gotta give it for you light. Gotta give it for the lights. For you know up in the zoo. For you know up in the U on the forest. On the mountain. Hey, consent. Things between me and you. Let's go. Special 24 for Quebec. One of the 63 dedicated to Quebec. Quebec gotta learn some French. Gotta learn some French when you're in Quebec. That's the cadence, that's our sentence. Dragon Army lessons. That's the cadence, that's our sentence. Dragon Army lessons. For the left and for the right. For the army, for the sight. So you know that that's we do. That's in me and that's a you. Left and right and in the middle. You gotta spit it, that's a little. Got a left and in the sight. Got a left and in the bites. Got a left and that's the sights. Got a place so you decide. Throw the dice but we don't gamble. Throw the dice but we don't gamble. Throw the dice but we don't rumble. Gotta give it so to be. Got a left in harmony. Got a left and right, you see. And the butchers and the bakers. And the cosmos got a left us. Et la cadence de l'armée du dragon. Québécoise, c'est la Saint-Jean. La Baptiste avec la fête nationale. And let's go, gotta sing it. Let's go, gotta swing it. Got some left and got some right. Got some butchers, got some bakers. Got some cadence, got some left. Got some stars up in the sets. Got some clouds ready to bet. Got some clouds ready to yet. Got some clouds ready to set. Set and sept and left and after. Gotta give it for your left. Gotta give it so you do. Gotta give it so you see. Left and right you be. On the left and on the right. Gotta give it on the set and on the mic. Gotta give it for the left, for the right, for the Shetson in the jungle. Gotta conquer steel with rumble. Gotta conquer steel with jungle. Gotta get it so you see. Gotta get it so you see. So you be. Gotta get it so you be. Living in that harmony. Gotta get a little bit of that hydration. Gonna wait 20 seconds. 15. 10. 5 and hydrate and go see the lights and get back on it. Let's go. Yeah. Gotta see and gotta be. For the cadence, for the cities, in the skyscrapers. Gotta give it for the left, for the right and in the bites. Let's go for the cadence and check out the city. Go back to headquarters, Special Saint Jean. A little bit of that French, man. Gotta give it for you see. We gotta get back to headquarters, getting on the thirsty and getting on the hydration, man. Gotta get thirsty and getting a bit hungry. Gotta get it for the love. One boring. There it is. Skyscraper pyramid. Let's go for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, plumbers, electricians, construction workers. Let's get it for the cadence. Rock and roll. Sandals. Let's go. Please. You are fine. His heavens are lost. Let's go, cadence. Don't want to sing the cadence, fellow other citizens. Create a freestyle mode for the army or the pledge your legions, allies or armies. Let's go! In the darkness, you see the lights. In the darkness, in the kisses, in the lights. In the darkness, where there's lights, there's no light in the darkness. In the darkness that you see, gotta get in harmony. For the left and right you be. Plumbers, butchers, electricians, firefighters, plumbers. That you be and that you see. For the left in harmony. For the marches, that's the cadence. For the marches, that's the cadence. And you know I gotta be. Left and right in harmony. Let's get it for the farmers. For the butchers and the... For the butchers and the plumbers. For the firefighters. Gotta get it so you see, gotta get it so you know. Hey, left or right, for the plumbers and the butchers, electricians and the nurses, daycare workers changing diapers, hey, construction workers, clap, we march in cadence and cadence, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, Montreal to San Francisco. We are dragons, not some demons. We are dragons, not some demons. Gotta get the dragon army sentence, which is our cadence. Get those bombers in the sky. Play defense till we die. Get those bombers in the sky. Play that defense till we die. Get those bombers in the sky. Play that defense till we die. Get those bombers in the sky. Play that defense till we die. Got a left and a right we set. And you know we gamble bet. For the plumbers, electricians, train conductors and the butchers. In the darkness that we see, and the light you follow me. In the darkness that we see, in the light you follow me. So you know we coast to coast, ocean to ocean. In the darkness there's some lights. Star above, they satellites. We're in the darkness now. We see some fireflies. If you see a spark, those are fireflies. See? Fireflies. Fireflies with us. We spit that fire. We are dragons. Not some demons. Sometimes you see in the dark. Where is left, there's the darkness in the light. And you see that's in the sight. In the darkness by the night. In the sun by the light. Or in the darkness by the light. We are dragons, dragons, dragons. In the darkness by the night. In the sun by the light. We are dragons, that's the night. In the dragons by the light. We are dragons by the day and by the night. Satellites be beaming lights. We go Montreal to San Francisco, east to west, north to south. Is the 63 of the Empire, sing it loud. Dragon Army. That is the cadence. Gotta see those some lights. Hello. Guys, you gotta be careful here. Sometimes the branches fall, eh?
Okay.
You speak English?
Yeah.
If not, I can translate in French.
That's fine.
Okay. Be careful, because sometimes if it's windy, if you hear cracks, the more you spend in the forest, the slower you move,
Okay.
the more you're at risk with the velocity of the...
Okay. Thank you.
Just be prudent, okay? Bye-bye. You're welcome. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. In the darkness by the light. We ungo, we satellites. Gotta give it so you see. Gotta give it so you be. Sometimes the branches fall, that's the problem here. Sometimes they fall from the sky, you know. So it's not just for them to be prudent, you know. The branches. I have it on camera myself. It fell close to me, you know. In a part of video from a few months ago. It fell on the side, just on the side. Not that far away, but it was a big one. So I see you toss them from the side. So that's what it is. I don't want anybody getting hurt, you know. No, what for? That's where we gotta be. Dragon Army for the 63. For our citizens, Dragon Army for SSD. Security, Service, and Defense. And of course, you gotta let people know, you know, there's a cadence, and that's what we gotta get doing, and that's what we gotta get doing on that drill, you know. So it's something which we have to be understanding of, and okay, so we have to be mindful of the situation here, because I have to let people know, especially at night, you decide to venture, not a problem. It's open and safe, and I hope you have fun, but just be aware if you hear cracks and if it starts windy, and the more slower you go, the more time you spend here, the more risk of falling branches. That is just the science, you know, and the science behind my emotional social responsibility for fellow other citizens is to let them know that there's a risk here. So that's what I do, you know, to getting on the go. So to love a little bit of that and love a little bit of that loving side of things here, you know, to getting on that love, you know. So is something which we gotta be doing, you know. So something which we have to be doing on the side, you know. Yeah. Cadence, special for Quebec. Gotta see, go to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Gotta be in liberty, gotta be for the left, for the right, for the left and for the right. In the middle, that's the rights. Dragon Army, what is our sentence? Is the Dragon Army cadence. Dragon Army sentence, we are marching mountains. Our sentence is our cadence. For the farmers and the butchers, electricians and the plumbers. Gotta give us so you love us. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. By the day and by the sun and by the night and by the moon. Left and right, ready to soon. Left and right, ready to boo. Ready to see, ready to do. That's the Dragon Army sentence. Left and right, that is our cadence. That's what we are, that's what we do. That's what we are, that's what we do. Dragon Army, pledge your allegiance, to get it on the left, to get it on the right, and to get it on the go, you know. So that's what we gotta get doing with that, and that's what we're gonna get doing on that, you know. That's what we got, that's what we do, and that's what it is, you know. So it's something which we have to be totally aware of. Let's get it on. Left and right, right and left. Dragon Army, we the best. From the sea to the ocean, from the ocean to the sea.